now I recognize like all the music that you play in town.
Oh,
I'm
like the
hey,
Streets of Ravenaster and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like 12. I wish it wasn't labeled Final Fantasy 12. I wish it was like a side game and not like a main numbered game, because it doesn't play or even the story progress in the way that you expect a main numbered Final Fantasy game to go. And it's in the world of Ivalice, which takes place in the Tactics series. So why not call it like, I don't know, something related to the word tactics, like Final Fantasy, not Tactics Advance, because it's already a game. I had a name for it at some point in time that was good, but I can't remember what I called it for it.
But then Final Fantasy 13 would be 12. Would that be a good
Or
thing?
they could have just come out with another 12 in between then, you know, but... I mean, even if it was, we'd be complaining that 12 sucked and maybe 13 was better.
Yeah. No, 13 would be the online one. Or they could have skipped the number 13.
Yeah. But I like the world of Ivalice. I love going back to it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I played the first 15, 20 minutes of it or so. I don't want to spoil it too much for myself, because eventually I think I will definitely get to it on my channel. So.
Buck says Final Fantasy VII should have been called Final Fantasy Tactical Retreat. Yeah, I agree. The remake should have been a Tactical Retreat. Just throw it in the dumpster.
Yeah. I wish they had done an HD remake the way they did Final Fantasy VIII, but they never did.
Yeah. And I thought they were. With that original article that said you were going to get the double pack of them, I thought it meant that both of them were going to be HD, but they just worded it poorly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Final Fantasy Final Fantasy VII as it was okay. I mean, the problem with 8 was
the faces.
There were too many, the faces, and like too many like like you couldn't. There are like scenes where the characters were really far away.
Yeah,
and they really need to be HD.
7, aside from in combat where they had more regular proportions, the out of combat models were closer to like the actual chibi style the sprites were in at the time, so they hold up a little bit better.
Yeah, it does. It's more like Final Fantasy VI, and how the sprites really hold up really well.
No, they originally had full sprite sheets for Final Fantasy VII, since it was going to be a game like 6. So they probably based the models off of the art that they already had available.
Yeah. I was actually just watching, it's probably still going on, a Games Done Quick of Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah, nice.
Of course, the record run is many, many hours, but still faster than I would ever.
Because that game is too tightly made. There's not really much room for event breaking or anything like that. You kind of just have to play it through.
Yeah, they did not wait for Shadow, though, so that made me sad.
Takes too much time. It's bad for a speedrun.
Exactly, yeah. It's like 4 minutes wasted.
And talking about wasting time, we're live. Welcome to the Vomitorium. Episode 65. We should be on 66, one closer to the milestone, but I did not have internet on Wednesday, so we're playing catch-up today. And before we get into things, because now I realize what GMT was saying at the end of last episode, I thought she was saying to shill in the way that our good friend Rick Piper does at the end of every episode, but we don't do that here. What she meant is, because I've even said I keep forgetting, if you would like to support the Vomitorium, you can find links below if you're watching this live or a video portion later, or if you're listening to this anywhere upon the podcasting network streams or whatever, you can just find us. There is a Patreon. You can find us on mine. So I'm going to set up a tier there at Vomitorium. Or you can just PayPal me directly at paypal.me/INADAMETAL. And now, into the show. How are you doing?
There you go. Good chilling. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm much better now that I have running internet again, and I can communicate with people and get things done that I need to get done.
I was worried your power was out because, I figured you would have like texted somebody from your phone, but then I thought, well, Maybe he just can't charge his phone. I don't know.
Yeah, panicked one-hand typing is not the best form of communication. I agree, and I sympathize for your situation, GMT.
Yeah.
Being ambidextrous, anytime I have lost a hand, I've never lost access to a primary hand, but I can sympathize with what it's like to not have your primary hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you're here on YouTube, which GMT's not, just on Twitch, which is great. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.
And follow. Please. Anywhere you're at. Mm-hmm. Even if you're listening to this later, follow on whatever platform.
Yeah.
We do this regularly.
There you go. More shilling.
Yeah. Oh, and also, because people might come in later and miss this, if you're on DLive and you happen to give a donation, please type out your donation in the chat, because the only thing I can see is the restream chat, and I can't tell if lemons or anything like that has been dropped, and I would like to give you credit for what you've done. Be on the honor system. Don't say you're giving stuff if you're not actually doing it.
I should have the DLive stream open.
Probably somebody should.
I can do that.
Yeah. So instead of talking about Final Fantasy for an hour straight for the 18th time on the podcast, which is probably a low ball there, let's start getting into waiting for Final Fantasy Infinite.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Into one of the
me
topics.
Or you?
What?
Lost audio.
I can hear you.
I don't think it's me. Can't hear you anymore.
I don't know why you can't hear me anymore.
I don't hear anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody else can hear me fine. It's Marsupial.
Should I leave and come back? Because I can hear both. Okay, hold on.
Hello.
Oh, I hear you now.
You hear me? Okay. Yeah, everybody else could hear me fine.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
I don't know what happened. Sorry if I was talking over you.
No, it was fine. You were not talking at the same time that I was at all. I was trying to mouth out what I was saying as best as possible, so you could try to maybe lip read, but it's hard with the resolution going on.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was you or me, but yeah. All good.
But yeah, I could hear you still fine when you were there. Anyway, let's move into like the first topic. I know you wanted to talk about Nintendo Direct stuff, which I said there was only one thing that I actually managed to see, which is probably the thing that you were hoping for the most, and even I kind of was, but I've got mixed opinions on it. But I don't know the rest of the Direct, so if you want to be the one that breaks that stuff down, you can, being the fact that you watched it.
I'm done with my strawberries. So, we're good. So did you not see any of it?
No, I didn't watch the Direct. I caught the Skyward Sword stuff separately.
So I streamed the whole thing. I was live and stream sniped it basically. At one point there was 1.4 million people on their channel watching, which I've never seen that many people watching a live stream before. It's incredible. But
that's the power of Nintendo.
Yeah, can you turn down the music just a little?
Oh, is it too loud? Yeah, I could get it a little bit.
Just a bit. All right, better.
All right.
So, yes, I saw the whole thing. So this was the first full Nintendo Direct in 17 months. They just completely skipped 2020. They hadn't had one since September of 2019.
Did they do minis, though, right? They just didn't do a full
They did minis.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they did one for like Pokemon Sword and Shield.
They did the partner mini and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, it's going back so far. They even did like one for Animal Crossing a year ago, before that came out. So there've been a lot of those little minis, but this was the first full one, which people were wondering, are there ever going to be any more directs? And I guess in retrospect, that's kind of dumb because it's like, Yeah, they just skipped 2020 because of COVID.
So. Because it was 2020.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, yeah, they're back. They're back in business. I thought it was overall pretty disappointing, but some people pointed out that they've always been a little disappointing.
So, I wouldn't say that. But usually it's only not disappointing if there is at least some major thing that you personally are looking forward to, right? So, like, the Smash crowd is always disappointed if there's not a Smash Brothers announcement in there, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, there was the obligatory, that was the very first thing, was the Smash Brothers announcement. And it was some people from, what was it?
Was it Xenoblade?
Xenoblade, yeah.
I saw memes of that. I didn't know if that was actually a thing or not because I didn't watch the direct.
Yep. So they added 2 more sword characters.
I was hoping they'd at least put a mage. Why? I think like 70% of the DLC characters have been sword fighters at this point.
Yeah. Pyra and Mithra, so 2 new sword characters. Huzzah.
Are they the same slot? Like just every other costume is the other person?
I guess. I don't really know how Smash works.
I haven't looked.
Yeah. Of course, you get the obligatory
Xenoblade. They probably have the exact same kit anyway.
Yeah, I think they're the same. Yeah. You get the obligatory, incredibly ironic tweet from Anita Sarkeesian complaining that they added female characters to the game.
It's because all the Xenoblade characters have big tits. They're anime waifus. Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently, when they add female characters to video games, that's not a good thing for feminists.
Especially characters that, despite being well endowed, are completely covered in armor, so you don't even really see any of their skin.
They are completely covered. Yeah. I'm sorry. I reminded GMT that she exists, so I won't do that anymore. But, yeah. Of course. So it's like, they're attractive.
At least they're not Fire Emblem characters. I'm glad we have some hot anime waifus that aren't from Fire Emblem, because I'm sick to death of fucking Fire Emblem characters being added to Smash, especially when Fire Emblem's not even that popular of a series. It only even started making money when frickin' Fire Emblem Heroes spend $100 on getting my waifu came out.
Yeah, GMT's right. The armor is a work of art, and the metalwork is astounding.
Yeah. It'd have to be. I mean, to contour like that, like, you have to be a master of your craft to get that down.
Yeah. Well, I liked the look of the characters. It looked exciting. I knew the instant I saw them, I was like, oh, more sword characters. Metal's gonna love that.
The thing is, there are mages. They could have put a mage in there from Xenoblade.
Well, I guess Pyra's sort of a mage, maybe? I think she has some fire magic.
I haven't seen their kit. Maybe they'll make them function more like a battle mage and less like Shulk, which are the other character from that game.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely... There's some other aspects to the characters.
Yeah. And I'm fine with battle mages. It's actually why I wanted Terra over Cloud originally, but it's like Cloud's way more popular in the, and also he was getting a remake, so obviously they were going to put him in there at the time. But Terra was one of the 3 options for the Final Fantasy representative at the time. He's like, yeah, Terra? Put in a battle mage.
Terra from Final Fantasy VI?
Yeah, when they were originally, because they were doing the ticket, the Smash ticket, where everybody was voting on who it should be, and there was the most popular, and then they were going to put in a Final Fantasy rep. Cloud was basically guaranteed anyway, and Square said that the 3 people they gave them access to were Butts, or Bart's, the American name of him from 5, Tina / Terra, or Cloud. And as soon as Cloud was available, obviously Sakurai was going to pick Cloud, especially being a big fan of 7 himself.
So there was that, and I guess, that is, that was about expected. So that didn't do anything. I was nothing to that. That was fine.
Like, I'm gonna get it, but
yeah, I was just like, well, okay, I'm sure that's interesting for Smash fans, but not me. Then they did a whole bunch of really, in my opinion, mediocre looking third-party titles. Just a bunch of them. That was kind of the disappointing thing. It was one thing after another. Oh, and look at this kind of boring thing that I'm never going to play or be interested in.
Yeah, well, I feel like because they have the time of a full direct, right? Kind of like how we do sometimes. They're playing catch-up. So, like, miss a week. I feel like a lot of really short things to fill in between the more important topics because it's like, we gotta shove them in there.
Yeah. So there was one called Project Triangle Strategy that looks very interesting. I believe it's Squaresoft. It looks very, very Octopath Traveler.
Oh, well, I'm hoping, because they said they were going to make a follow-up to it, but obviously an Octopath Traveler 2 wouldn't make sense if you played the game. It's kind of like a standalone Canterbury Tale thing. So you're expecting them to make another one-off title, so I'll have to look into that. That sounds like right up my alley.
Yeah, it's a weird name. I think it's just a working title. It's not going to come out till next year, but it looked very similar, at least the graphic style. I mean, I'm almost certain it's the same engine and everything, but yeah, Project Triangle Strategy. And it was something about strategy in 3 parts, I think.
Yeah.
Dictated the name, because they showed like,
you can like Chrono Trigger, I'm thinking. Because one of the big things about Chrono Trigger is, even though it was a turn-based strategy game like Final Fantasy, your position on the map had a lot to do with like how you attacked, because there were cooperative moves that 2 or 3 characters would do together. So if you're thinking strategy and triangles, it might be a Chrono Trigger style positional RPG where they, depending on where all 3 people are, will depend on how you attack.
Yeah, well, what they showed was like one character cast ice on the ground, and the other character cast fire, which melted it, and then another character cast thunder or lightning, which electrified the water.
I like that. They did something like that in Pokemon, in X and Y. There were joint moves. It was only a 2-part, but in like the doubles or triple battles, if one person casts like the grass move first and then the fire move was casted after that in the joint, you'd get like this explosive damage between the 2 of them.
Yeah, that's what it seems like the strategy is surrounding different types. I don't think it's position so much as just different types of attacks working together. That was interesting. Yes, the Ghost of Metal has returned.
Actually, one of my nicknames was Spectre, so I kind of am a ghost.
So I'm trying to remember what else there was in the filler. Another one that's mildly interesting, but I'll probably never play it, is they're releasing the 3D Ninja Gaiden trilogy on Switch. So, okay.
No, I did have another nickname that was Q-Tip. That one wasn't so flattering.
That was the only other mildly interesting thing. And then they said, who is it? Sakurai? Is he the Zelda dude?
Yeah. Masahiro Sakurai.
So he comes out and says, there's no news on Breath of the Wild 2.
Why would Sakurai be the one to say that? You'd think Enuma would be the one to come out and say that.
Oh, maybe it was Enuma.
Because Enuma's the director of Zelda.
That's what I meant. The director of Zelda. I can't remember the names. So it was Enuma comes out and he says, sorry, there's no news on Breath of the Wild 2. Yeah. It was like, God damn it. Like they knew that's what everyone was waiting for, so they came out and said, we'll have news later in the year. So I don't know if that means that it's not going to even come out until 2022 or what, or if the news is going to be, and it's coming out in a month, like if they do a direct in September or something like that.
Yeah.
Who knows? Could be. So no news there. And then
I'm not holding my breath on that Wild.
Yeah, it's a shame because this is the 35th anniversary of Zelda. So at least they kind of pulled a very Nintendo move, and to hold us over until Breath of the Wild 2, they're releasing Skyward Sword HD.
Yeah, which I have problems with. I'm glad they're releasing it because I've been saying for a while they need to release a Switch version of Skyward Sword because so many people just skipped it and didn't play the game. And the problem I have, though, is not just the price of it for being an HD port that is barely up HD, right? Not as much as done to it, because I did watch the video on it. It's not as big of a difference from, say, like Twilight Princess to Twilight Princess HD. Not as much as needed. I mean, it is a more recent game. It was at the end of the Wii's life cycle, while Twilight Princess is functionally a GameCube game, despite having a Wii version of it. But it's $60, and then there are the Joy-Cons that are the custom Skyward Sword Joy-Cons that you have to pay an additional, like, $60 for.
You don't have to.
No, you don't. But if you remember, the original Skyward Sword came with a controller for the full price of the game. So you'd think it would have been neat that if they're already selling you what is functionally just a slightly higher rendered port, that obviously they had to put work into making the controls work better without the whole motion plus stuff, right? But you literally could not play Skyward Sword with the original Wii remote. Yeah. But it still all came for the same price, I think. I think it was like $20 extra, right? It was like $80 to get the Pro Controller with it. And I remember because my brother had gotten it.
Yeah.
So, like, why not just, for the sake of it, do the bundle? Because it really doesn't look like they did that much to the game. And they're charging you full price for a game again. I've just been having trouble with Nintendo charging full price for what are effectively ports. Like the 3D All-Stars, right? For what were effectively just ROMs. They put 3 ROMs in a single cartridge together and charged you for a full price game. And it's like, I don't like these practices.
Well, sorry, I already pre-ordered it.
No, I know you pre-ordered it. I have to get my beef out of it.
And I'm probably going to buy the Wii remotes. Probably. Oh, well.
Yeah. Well, I know my mom already pre-ordered it, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's nice that they at least, they I guess, figured out how to do the motion controls with the Wii remotes and all the rumble stuff and everything, but then they also give you the option of not doing motion controls.
Yeah. Well, that's the better part, because motion control is not hard with the Switch, right? One of the Joy-Cons is already set up, which one is it here? Perfectly for motion. Both of them can technically do it, but they rely on this one for the motion. So that's not hard. It was getting the game to play functionally without having to do it, I think, was probably the task at hand.
Yeah. So you use the right stick to swing your sword in certain ways. So.
Which makes sense, too, because the nunchuck setup was designed for right-handed people. Which I hated, because Link was always left-handed. Well, technically, Link was ambidextrous, because if he was walking side to side, due to mirroring, his shield would always face Death Mountain. But primarily, Link was left-handed. And then, when you get to the Wii, even in the original version of Twilight Princess, Link was left-handed, but the Wii version mirrored everything. Strictly just so the Wiimote would be in the right hand for people swinging the sword. Even though I played the whole game left-handed and did not have a problem with the Wiimote being in the opposite hand that the sword was in. I don't know what the big deal of that was. Now I'm playing through the whole game mirrored for no reason. And then they left Link right-handed since then.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah.
Well, he's not. Is he? But he went back to left-handed for Link Between Worlds, didn't
he? Yeah, but that's also just because it's kind of just a clone of a game where he was already left-handed.
Yeah. Yeah. Made some of the puzzles a bit of a pain when the guide was written for the Wii version. Yeah. See, I played the Wii version when it came out. So I was actually, when I played through Twilight Princess HD, it kind of freaked me out because I was like, everything's backwards. I don't know where anything is.
Yeah. Right. Well, actually, so my problem was I have a Wii guide now somewhere. It's in my stuff because I got it from a friend who was just throwing it. The same guy who bought me Twilight Princess originally because he bought it as a gift. But when he bought it for me, he wasn't paying attention to the guides. He just pulled them both out at the same time. So he got the Wii guide. Mine was the GameCube. So I had the opposite problem because they had two guides where the maps were mirrored and everything. I had a guide that was the opposite direction, but it's actually the way the game was designed. Like, you could use that original guide for the modern version of the game. But I don't have that one anymore. All I have is the Wii one, which doesn't work for the modern version of the game because it's flipped back around to the GameCube version.
Yeah. Crazy. What was the other? I feel like there was another announcement. Well,
hey, don't ask me. I didn't watch the Direct. All I knew about was Skyward Sword.
While I'm looking it up, because I know there was something else. Also, Splatoon 3.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
So, Splatoon 3. Now, unfortunately, it's not coming out till 2022.
That's fine.
So that was kind of, I don't know, it was disappointing to me.
I mean, Splatoon 2 is not that old, all things considered.
Yeah, but there were only like 3 years between, or maybe 2 years between Splatoon 1 and 2. And
yeah, but wasn't that because of a system change, mostly?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, it's kind of interesting, but, it's hard for me to get interested in it because it's not for a very long time.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where they're kind of giving you the tease now, but they'll have to build up the hype again later.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing: Splatoon 2 is still very popular.
Yeah.
So
it's probably they're also writing it out, right? That's why they're waiting. They still have a couple Splatfests planned and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, here we go. Fall Guys coming out on Switch. Interesting. And the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity DLC.
Oh, okay. That's kind of interesting. I still haven't played the game.
Yeah. Again, I wish it was coming sooner, but whatever. So in June, there's going to be 2 waves, just like the one for Breath of the Wild. And in June, they're coming out with an expanded roster. They definitely very strongly hinted at Robbie and Purah. New weapon types, new enemies. That sounds interesting. And new challenges and new maps, presumably. And then Wave 2 is coming out in November, and new character vignettes. So I guess just more story, more stages, another expanded roster. So I don't know what else, and new skills. So yeah, that's exciting. It's kind of pretty predictable because they had DLC and 3 different versions of the original Hyrule Warriors that just kept adding and adding and adding. So
maybe by then I'll actually feel like playing the game.
Yeah, really.
My problem is if I don't get to a game right away, and then I see too many people playing it, even if somehow I avoid spoilers, I'm kind of like the adventure explorer type of person, and that's why I like going into games blind. I like to discover everything firsthand, like I'm wandering through the woods or whatever. And it kind of just puts me off playing the game until enough time has passed that I've kind of just forgotten about most things.
Yeah. Buck has a good good prediction, maybe it'll just be the gold enemies that you get in hero mode in Breath of the Wild.
Wow, this is boring.
Yeah, it would be nice if there were actually new enemies.
No, if they mix the gold enemies in with some other new interesting stuff, I wouldn't complain. Like, if that was just part of the pot. But if that was the whole pot, that just sounds boring.
Well, I was interested in the fact that they came out with, there are all these elemental enemies.
Like the electric guardians and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, those were kind of interesting. Added some strategy. Remake of Legend of Mana.
Hey, I'm actually excited for that. I like Legend of Mana.
Yeah.
The whole Mana series is good. I love the Mana series.
Let's see. Well, okay, a remastered in HD.
That's better. I prefer remasterings over remakes because apparently they mean different things now. And when people say I'm remaking the game, they're basically throwing caution to the wind and possibly taking a big shit off of what was originally a masterpiece.
Yeah. See Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
And we don't need to talk about DC Superhero Girls.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I have no interest in it, but it's such like a weird standalone continuity that is like, it's allowed to exist for the people that like it.
What, the DC Superhero Girls?
Yeah, because it's really just taking kind of familiar characters and dumbing it down in a way that, like, especially young girls can get into it because it handles, like, high school related stuff that they're looking up to and hoping to have themselves someday. It's fine to exist, I just have absolutely no interest in it whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, I was less the fact that it already existed. I didn't actually realize that it was that it's a cartoon, I guess. Is that right? Series. So, all right. So it's already, it's already a thing. So
it was rebooted by the same person. What's her name? Faust, who made the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic.
Mm-hmm.
She even kind of changed the designs too.
Well, obviously not for me. So,
yeah.
Then there's the Famicom Detective Club.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, GMT should like that. Famicom Detective Club. 2 games from a series that, there we go. Apparently never left Japan until now. So.
Nice.
Looks like a point and click kind of, or I guess maybe like a visual novel type series.
Wait, what's the name of the game? Do you have it in front of you?
Famicom Detective Club. One of them's called. God, it's so small. Wait.
Let me look it up.
The Missing Heir. One of them's called The Missing Heir, and the other's called The Girl Who Stands Behind.
They don't have the Japanese game names for them.
Oh, I don't know. No. 2 classic Nintendo thrillers are coming to North America for the first time.
Well, that's nice too, because it's more than 2 from what I'm looking at. It's 1 and 2 for both games.
Cool.
Because they were separated into what it says, Disc 1 and Disc 2 originally.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of other things that came out. Capcom Arcade Stadium, Star Wars Hunters, Apex Legends, Miitopia.
Okay, so they're the same game. The Girl Who Stands Behind is a prequel to The Missing Heir.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
But they're not the same game.
Well, I mean, they are, but the same series, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And we don't need to go through all of the other third-party stuff. But
yeah.
Those are the interesting things. Oh, and Mario-themed items coming to Animal Crossing New Horizons. The one really cool thing is warp pipes that actually work. So you can put 2 warp pipes on different parts of your island and warp instantly from one area to another.
I need those. For sure.
Yes,
because I am making what's it called, a bastion out of my island. I haven't worked on it in a while, but that's what I'm doing. I'm making a wall that surrounds the entire island and a moat and everything. So I need these warp pipes for my bastion to be complete.
There you go. Those look pretty cool. And then there's Mario Golf Super Rush. Woohoo! I don't know about you, but all I ever wanted was another Mario Golf game.
I actually really like Mario Golf. I'm not going to shit on that.
And in this one, you can run from one hole to the next. In fact, there's like a racing.
You actually travel from hole to hole. You've never did that before in a Mario game. Okay, I like that.
Okay.
As somebody who's golfed in real life, a lot of the time you spend on the course is just walking from hole to hole.
Yeah, they like turned that into a mini game. So
That's
I
cool.
think you like actually race people from one hole to the next.
I like that. I'll play it. I like Mario Golf. Mario Golf is also is Mario Golf and Tennis, the sports games, are the ones that really brought Waluigi into the picture in the first place, because Wario needed a doubles partner in tennis. That's why Waluigi exists. And also brought Daisy back into the picture, because up until the sports games, she was kind of just the forgotten princess from the GB games.
Mm-hmm. There was a scene in the Smash Brothers part where they showed Pyro kicking Daisy's ass, and I kind of cheered for that.
Not cool. Daisy's
I was like, hey, that's Daisy getting launched into the stratosphere. Yes.
I'm still upset that Hi, I'm Daisy is not a taunt in Smash Brothers. Like, this bothers me. Still. Even though the game's been out for years now.
I always say, nobody likes Daisy.
No, everybody likes Daisy. I don't know what you're talking about. Daisy's best girl.
Yeah, they definitely showed that.
Yeah, they were playing Mario Kart in the other room while the internet was down. And they asked if I wanted to play. And it's like, no, I don't want to play, because all that would change is who's taking first place. And it would have frustrated people more, because that happens every time I play Mario Kart. And they would just... actually, some of them were so slow at some point on the longer tracks, I probably would have lapped the slower of the two people. And they would have just heard the Hi, I'm Daisy as I'm taking around the turn.
Well, it sounds like you would have been more interested in the direct than I was.
Probably. I actually really like sports games. I was talking to Buck about this recently. A lot of people are surprised when they hear that, because I'm not much of like a sports viewing person, but I like participating in sports more than I like watching it. A sports game is kind of like participating in it. And some of my favorite games, especially from the Nintendo 64, are surprisingly snowboarding games, because I'm really into snowboarding. And I recently picked up Steep from 2016. We were talking about that last night.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how are people surprised that I really like sports games when they know that I like 1080 snowboarding from the 64 and Snowboard Kids 2? They're like two of my favorite games from that generation. Sports games are great. Because the thing is, sports games, you can be both competitive and casual at the same time. Like, you can kind of just have that fun little competition going on.
GMG says she's wielded a golfing racket, but apparently Happy Gilmore isn't an instructional video.
No, it's not. It's a good movie, though.
Oh, yeah. So, maybe check out Mario Golf, whatever it's called, Super Rush. Might be interesting to you.
For sure.
I mean, I guess it's interesting to a few people, because I said something on Twitter where I was like, I thought it was meh. I wasn't particularly excited about anything but Skyward Sword. And someone was like, really? Like, what about the Mario Golf? And I was like, what about it? Like, no, I'm not interested. But
it's really cool. Sometimes Mario Golf will have, I think was it the GameCube version or the 64 version, had a putt-putt mini game in it too, where it actually had like mini golf that you could play, and it was literally just the putting section around like obstacles. It was pretty fun. Yeah. But they're always putting wacky stuff. Like the Mario sports games are some of the best sports games ever played.
Well, I liked playing on the Wii, and they do have motion controls in this if you want to use it. So you can stand and golf like on the Wii.
Making Wii Sports and stuff like that.
Yeah, I did like playing that with my kids. I played Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort and all that stuff. So I used to like that stuff. Maybe I should get it and be more active.
They have Wii Sports for the Wii U. I think they need to port that back over for the Switch.
Yeah. I mean, if this is called
Wii Sports Club, where you bought it and it was basically like a membership package to everything. It had some stuff from resorts as well.
Yeah, I had that.
Yeah.
I did have that. So, I think that was about it.
Yeah. If they port that over and it has full online play, I would totally do some Wii Sports streams. I enjoy Wii Sports. Yeah. Especially the bowling. The bowling is the best part of all of Wii Sports.
Yeah, I did like the bowling. Definitely.
Yeah.
So, trying to think if there was anything else. There was nothing on Metroid Prime 4.
Of course.
They did not announce Pikmin 4. Very disappointing.
Another part guaranteed free space in the middle of my bingo card. Absolutely no mention of F-Zero.
Nope. Not at all. They did mention Apex Legends, I guess, is coming to Switch.
Thing is, I like shooters too. I can't give a shit about Apex.
Wasn't that one of those games that was like horribly broken upon the first release?
I don't know.
The initial.
I didn't follow it that closely. I've watched some of my friends play it since then. My former co-host right before you came is really into Apex. I watched him play it. I was even in chat with him where I was chatting while he was playing it. The game does not look appealing to me. Like, at all.
Yeah. I don't know. Doesn't look appealing to me either. So what else is new?
Well, we do have other topics, if that's it for the Direct.
As far as I can think, yeah. As far as I can remember/find on my Switch.
Let's see. Let me get rid of Skyward Sword from here because that was one of the topics. Oh, hey, there we go. Lawsuits time, right? Let's catch up with lawsuits.
First off, no Mr. Squeakers. There was no Chibi Robo News. Sorry.
Which, surprisingly, you have a higher chance of getting Chibi Robo News than F-Zero.
True.
Actually, it's weird that you have a higher chance of getting Chibi Robo News than Metroid at this point.
Yeah, it seems like it. Definitely seems like it.
Yeah. Well, let's catch up with lawsuits. We've talked about this before. I don't remember if it was with you or Chris that I first started talking about this lawsuit, but we've been following it for a little over half a year now on the Vomitorium. And it is the Apple versus Epic Games lawsuit that has been going on for a while. And one of the updates, a very weird one, is now Valve has been dragged into this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Apple is basically getting a subpoena for Valve to give sales of more than 400 games. Like all the sales data and stuff. Because Apple feels it's necessary to calculate the size of the market through all of Epic's available distribution channels. Valve actually has a good point to what this actually is doing at the end of the whole article. But originally, Epic was going to ask for all 30,000 plus games on Steam over the last 10 years, which is a ridiculous, unreasonable amount of data to ask from somebody, especially when keeping track of this stuff is not part of their day-to-day business.
Mm-hmm.
They even said, like, this is not the type of data we keep track of. We keep it for like a quarter and then it's gone. You know? They'd have to go and digging through a lot of like historical notes and piecing things together. And the subpoena was dropped down to only 436 games, which are all the games that are available on both Steam and the Epic Games Store, so they can compare the sales against them. And a lot of this has to do with the in-game purchases, the in-app purchases and stuff like that. Because that's what the original lawsuit is over. You remember Epic was suing Apple, or the other way around, because Epic was trying to sell things directly through the Epic Store on Apple devices, or there was workarounds where you could buy something through your Epic Game Store account, and it would also be available on Apple. There's a lot of weird bullshit involved with this case. But Apple, much like Android, wants it to where the only way you can buy something in any app while on their device is through the Apple Store. And Epic was subverting that through their in-app purchases, allowing you to use the Epic Game Store for that. And yeah, it's getting pretty hairy, and Valve is rightfully fighting back because I don't even see, with gauging the size of the market, how this has any relevance to their case. Like, why Apple would need to subpoena this data.
Mm-hmm.
And even Valve say, like, really they're just trying to find the data for all the third-party developers involved, who individually probably have more precise details on the sales of their games than Valve does. Because they're more inclined to keep track of that stuff. It's their game. Valve only needs the exchange for that quarter. And they're kind of just like trying to eliminate the number of steps by going through Valve once instead of each of these individual third-party companies.
So what is Apple trying to prove here? Why do they need this from Valve?
They need it to prove the total market size for Epic's available digital distribution channels, is what it's saying.
Oh,
yeah.
They're basically saying they want to prove that they're not a monopoly.
Yeah. So they want total yearly sales of apps and in-app products, annual advertising revenues from Steam, annual sales of external products attributable to Steam, annual revenues from Steam, and annual earnings, whether gross or net, from Steam, involving every single one of these 400 plus games. They also want the name of each app on Steam, the date range from when the app was available on Steam, and the price of the app in any in-app product available on Steam. Yeah. And Valve is like, this demand is ridiculous.
Yeah. They're not even a part of the lawsuit.
No, they're not. This is between Apple and Epic.
Crazy.
And Apple's already said in the lawsuit, too, that courts have already approved basically identical data from Android. Now, Android, on the other hand, though, makes a bit more sense, at least if we're trying to qualify the claim, because they do the same thing where you have to go through the Android store to make in-app purchases. Steam has no restriction on this. You can buy things directly from the third party while running a game through Steam. You don't have to make a purchase through the Steam store. So I don't know, maybe that's even what makes it different, so they could qualify how much money they would be losing this way. But I don't know, like, Steam just seems so different from this case altogether that it seems irrational to ask for this data.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a lawyer, so I can't even try to play devil's advocate on Apple's side to find some type of legal reason why this might actually have grounds for them having this subpoena against them. It just, from my novice view, it seems ridiculous.
It seems like a big expense to collate all this data.
And a lot of time,
for a lawsuit they're not even involved with. Yeah. Like, I would say to Apple, like, okay,
here's what it's going to cost you. You need to pay us if you want this data.
Yeah.
Or something. Eagle says, has anyone played the werewolf game?
I don't know which werewolf game he's talking about. There's several.
No idea. Mr. Squeaker says, I wonder if Apple is trying to figure out how much money they're not making from Steam. There you go.
Maybe.
Yeah, I guess. How is that relevant to their lawsuit with Epic?
Yeah, I don't know. Because if anything, at first it was really hard for me to care about this, but I was following it because it was funny. Because I don't like either company on the whole these days. Like, historically, I liked Apple, like, way back in the day, but I have no dog in this race whatsoever. Werewolf the Apocalypse. No, I've not played that game. I'm assuming you haven't played it either.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, but, like, I have no dog in this race, so I thought it'd be, like, funny drama, but the more and more I follow this case, and I've been following it every time there's been an update we've talked about in the Vomitorium, it just keeps getting more ridiculous than it is, because if anybody in this grounds who has the right to be called a monopoly here, it's kind of Apple and Android because they force all purchases through their store, but they kind of have the right to. It's their store, they don't have to host you. I'm not complaining about it. Sometimes there are justified monopolies, and that might be one of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing that for like 12 or 13 years.
Yeah, you could go anywhere
really
else.
really without a whole lot of,
yeah,
pushback, because it's like, people complain a bit, but it's like, if we want to be on Apple's store, then that's the price of doing business. If we don't want to pay that price, we don't have to be on that store. I mean, it's kind of it's a situation where there is so much competition. There's so much.
Well, the big problem, and I get why even Apple's more unique than Android, because you can't be on an Apple device if you're not through the Apple Store, right? I mean, there's some ways around jailbreaking and blah, 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 but it's not like Android where you can just load up an APK.
Yeah, but you don't have to be on an Apple device.
You don't.
And the vast...
That's what they've won that,
majority, too. What's that?
They've won that in cases, too, where it's like the iOS in the device is proprietary, so they have full right to only have to have you go through their store.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The vast majority, like 70%, like way more than half, I feel like something around 70-75% of mobile devices are Android.
Yeah. And on Android, they let you just load up an APK. You don't have to go through like the Google store or anything like that. Somebody could sell you the app directly from their site in a way that the app can be updated from their site too, and you could just have an APK loaded on your phone.
There's just no way that you can claim that Apple has any sort of monopoly or near monopoly or anything like.
Well, they have what you would call the most justified form of a monopoly, if you called one, and that is a territorial or property monopoly, right? Like if you own a property of land, you have every right to use that property of land as you please. You have the monopoly over that land, which is a correct use of that term. They own the land. The Apple Store is their land. They like, you can't argue against that from a legal standpoint.
Yeah, and you can't say, well, because you own this very, very, well, not very, but you own this small portion of all the available land, you shouldn't be able to do what you want on that. Like, no, there's all this other stuff. Like, and I know that the vast majority of sales in the mobile space is on Apple versus Android, because people who have Android devices typically spend less.
Yeah,
I'll just say they spend less. I won't do any other analysis
because Apple's
there,
market is a luxury product. They've stopped from being the everyman's product to being a luxury brand. They've been like that for years now. Yeah. And when you're a luxury brand, you do attract people that you might call whales. They just spend more money because they like luxury. And because they spend more money, you're going to get more sales from them on stores. It's just simple math there, economics.
Yeah. But I mean, you can't argue with the fact that assuming Fortnite is on Android, which I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah.
Like, okay, how is Apple, it's probably on far more Android devices than it is on Apple devices.
Oh, for sure.
They just can't get people to spend as much money on Android. So.
Yeah.
Plus,
there's a workaround too, right? Like, if they wanted to, they could just give you an APK from their site that's an Epic Games launcher, and then you could just buy all of the games through the Epic Games launcher. Mm-hmm. And, like, if they were having a problem with Android, there's a simple workaround.
Mm-hmm. Plus, there's so much of a lower barrier to entry, so where they could, and Android is open source. They could sell a Fortnite phone that has the game preloaded and allows you to buy whatever you want through the Fortnite, the Epic Store. You don't have to go through Google to buy stuff in that way, in the way that Apple does. So I mean,
there's a delay. GMT was bringing that up literally as you were saying it too.
Yeah, there you go. They could make their own. I mean, I remember when everyone and their brother made a phone. There was like a Firefox phone for a while.
Yeah.
And there was
a huge wave.
All these. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of died down because it's just, I guess it just wasn't profitable.
Yeah, it was with the browser, right? Like, everybody's got their own Chromium browser.
Yeah. Like, if you want to do that, you could. This whole lawsuit is dumb. I mean,
it is dumb.
That's
why I've been following it, because how dumb it is, and it just keeps getting dumber and dumber the longer it goes on.
And it's not that I'm one to take the side of Apple, but in this case, it's like they're allowed to set their own prices.
Yeah, I would just get off of Apple. That's what I would do. Especially because, like, you know how bad you could screw Apple over by just getting off of? Because Fortnite and some of these Epic games are so influential to kids that if that game isn't available on the phone, they won't want that phone, period. Right? Mm-hmm. And that means you might be leading a whole generation of potential Apple buyers away from Apple by saying, fine, if you don't want to play ball, we won't either.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually a great idea that they should have thought of if they didn't just like do a Fortnite branded Android phone that has it preloaded, and why not?
I don't know. They should have.
They easily could have.
We got a question. How are we doing? Normally asked this at the beginning, but we can always have a refresher. I am doing just dandy. How about you?
I'm great.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired today. I think because I stayed up way too late playing Ark. Way too late. Apple then market themselves as not a toy.
Yeah. It's like the thing is too, I have like no sympathy for either person in this case. Like I said, I have no dog, and that's why I've been following it. It's just watching these two monoliths of companies just slam into each other.
Yeah. Well, I hate Epic with a passion.
Yeah, well, I do and I don't. I hate their store. I hate who owns them, and a bunch of other things. I really like the Unreal Engine, which they own.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the only thing, and I like some of the stuff that's going on with Unreal. Like we talked about that character creator that they're making now, that model. And there's some cool things going on in the Unreal side of things. Everything else with Epic, I could probably just toss into a fire and I wouldn't care about.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to install their store or their launcher or whatever.
Yeah.
Just dumb.
When I get my next hard drive, I might install the freaking, what's it called? The UDK for Unreal, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like the Unreal Engine
right now.
Mm-hmm. So...
these lawyers, they're all on retainer. Like, these companies have lawyers that get paid salary. So these lawyers don't even care. They get fat checks regardless.
Oh yeah. So I think GMT are going to get your wish. The lawyers are going to win.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's the thing. Epic actually has been pretty good to creators, though, when it comes to how much they profit off their store. Like, I'm a little bit more lenient on them because most of these other big stores have been ripping developers off by charging, like, really high prices. Like, high cuts of whatever they put on there. Epic has been, like, almost as good as Nintendo when it comes to the cut that they take.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the few good things I can say about them.
Yeah, I mean, and believe me, Buck, I have no love for Apple either.
You've experienced it personally, right?
I've developed for iOS, and yes, I hate that they charge 30%, and they charge 30%. If you charge for your app, they charge 30% for that. They charge 30% for any in-app purchases, and but I don't know if Google ended up matching that, but at the time, back when I was doing commercial apps, which is a few years ago, Google was charging 20%.
I think that's still about where it is when I checked, because I saw the like 3 months ago or whatever we went over, maybe 4, how much Nintendo was charging for Switch apps. They were like the lowest of the market at like 8% to 11%, depending on how much your game made. And it had all the comparisons of each company's store next to it. And I think they were still about as low as 20 for Google last I checked. It was like 23% or something.
I tell you though, I mean, it's totally worth it. Like if you can get a decent app onto the Apple Store and it gets a little bit of traction,
more people are going to pay.
I tell you, it is so worth it. It's so worth it to pay that extra percentage. Because you get so much more. You get so many more downloads, so many more paid, customers on iOS than you do on Android.
Yeah. Well, it's a funny thing too, and I think it's mostly kids and the type of games that they have. Even though you could get some of these games elsewhere, but the money still goes to Epic. Because of Fortnite, despite how low their cut is, Epic is still making more money than most other stores through their Epic store. Because kids are constantly, whenever they get allowance from their parents, they're just dumping it into the Fortnite bucks or whatever they're called.
I'll tell you what, though, also from a developer standpoint, it is so much easier to develop for iOS than it is for Android.
Yeah.
Just because, although it's a little harder nowadays because they've got a little bit of fragmentation, but a few years ago, before they had just a million different sizes, basically before Steve Jobs died, they had very few options when it came to iOS, and then they kind of exploded. And as far as screen size and making sure that it matched,
it's a higher entry cost, though, right? Because if you're going to develop for Android, you have to have a Mac, right? So,
true.
If you're going to be a developer, you should probably just buy one anyway. Like you're just pre-plan into the direction you're going. But if you're comparing, you could get a cheaper computer that's like a Windows than you could a Mac if you're only considering developing apps for Android and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so the
developer program. On Apple, you have to pay $100 a year per developer. On Google, you pay like a $25 one-time lifetime fee.
Yeah.
On Apple, you have to pay that $100 every single year.
Yeah, that was another thing I was going to get to. It's like, it's not just an initial investment to be able to put things on iOS.
Yeah. But you also have to get Mac, so hence. One of these days I'll get back. Oh, that's cool. One of these days I'll get back to developing iOS apps because I do have the hardware for it. So even when it's see-through, and when you can see my background right there.
Hack and
punch. Yeah. That's actually true. You can put iOS on VMware.
Yeah,
it works. So since they switched to Intel many years ago, you can get iOS to work on VMware without too much trouble. Flit does not like Apple.
I'm not a fan. I like some of their older devices. Like I really love the original iPod line and some of the older Apple computers and stuff. Like when people talk about that brand of Apple back in the day, I 100% agree with classic Apple.
Mm-hmm.
Not really a fan of where they've been going for several years.
Mm-hmm.
Nearly a decade now. I keep thinking several years. Like, no, we're in 2021. It's been a lot longer than I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, from a developer's perspective, their hardware is better.
Yeah, and it's also necessary if you want to program on that end. So it's like there's two good reasons there.
Yeah. Plus the iOS software and the hardware that it runs on tends to get better performance overall than Android is.
Yeah.
So,
honestly, I really liked the Windows Phone, but there was two big problems with why it never took off. One, the phone was functioning like a computer, so a lot of people couldn't wrap their heads around it. And two, because it was functioning like a computer, it used Windows apps, so you couldn't play your favorite games because nobody was making those games for the Windows Store.
Mm-hmm.
And people were just like, I don't want this thing. It was the Nokia Lumia. I really liked that phone, but we're not getting any more Windows phones.
Yeah, the cross-platform development tool that I used to use to do iOS and Android, they started to add Windows Phone, and then they just kind of gave up. They're just
died.
Yeah. They're like, we're going to have support for Windows Phone. And now we change our own. So, oh well. So there's a lot of stuff coming out of BlizzCon. Was that stuff on your list?
I knew BlizzCon was happening. I was not following too much. I know Diablo 2. I saw that. There's an announcement for Diablo 4 as well, which I didn't look into.
Yeah, all I'm seeing on that is they had a trailer on the Rogue class.
Yeah.
Rogue class. That's hard to say. Which I watched the trailer. It looks cool. It looks very similar to Diablo 3.
Oh man, I was hoping it would look more similar to Diablo 2. Because 3 wasn't bad, but it looked better, but it felt like a step down from 2 slightly. Not like a huge drop, just like if you were on stairs, you went down a single step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just looks complicated. My only problem with the way Diablo is going, it feels like they're really catering to people who just are really into it and learn all the clicking and clacking and button pressing.
Oh, you mean the core
really
audience
fast.
of Diablo?
Yeah, I guess. I'm just like, I liked Diablo 2 because it was so simple. It was just two
with the graphics maybe. Of 3 would be cool. That's basically what you're getting with Diablo 2 Remastered. It looks good. It does. I have some reservations because Warcraft 3 is my favorite Warcraft game, and they somewhat fucked up the Warcraft 3 Remaster. It still plays really well, and you can use the arcade. I don't know how well I can recommend it, but it looks great. Hopefully they learned their fuck-ups with the remastering of Warcraft 3, and the remaster of Diablo 2 won't be that bad.
Yeah.
And it'll just be great.
Well,
that's what I'm hoping for.
I'm far more excited about the Diablo 2 remaster than I am about Diablo 4.
Oh, Diablo 2 is the best Diablo.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can handle the 4 hotkeys, right, for potions and stuff, and 2 button clicks on the mouse. I can't handle Diablo 3 just started to get a bit too complicated for me. It's just too much to keep track of and too many different moves. And I ended up using the same one or two moves over and over, and I'm like, I feel like I'm not getting as much out of
there
this.
too. That's the problem with Warcraft 3. I hope there's an offline play and you can mod it. That was the fuck up, and I'm hoping that they learned from it.
Are they still, like, did they ever change it so that you could mod it and play it offline?
I have not followed. That was pretty much the thing that got me to stop. You can still explode the sheep at least if you click them too many times. Yeah, I roll.
So yeah, I hope they don't fuck up because I love Diablo 2. Like, I liked Warcraft 3. I played it. I thought it was fun, but I loved Diablo 2.
Yeah. Well, because Warcraft 3, it's got a good story. I don't think it's as good as the story in Warcraft 2, but it looks better, it controls better, unit management's better in 3. The real thing about 3 was the custom games mode, which is basically the equivalent of the StarCraft arcade, where you could mod and make your own maps and games and stuff like that. That's why everybody ran 3 for the longest time, is where we get Defense of the Ancients, you know, the original Dota, all kinds of fun things. I used to play games like Life as Peasants, and just, I think if I still have a ripped version of the original Warcraft 3 on my hard drive that has all of, like, the custom maps and stuff in there. It's just like a standalone file. Don't need to install it. It just runs from clicking on it off of the hard drive. And I probably have like 100 custom games installed to it. Some of them, multiple versions of the same game, because patching wasn't a thing for custom games. They basically just had to recompile the game with the updated data.
Sorry, you muted for me again.
Oh, can you hear me now?
But I hear you now, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying, like, I have a version of the original 3 that is fully ripped. It's a standalone application. You don't need to install it. You click on it, it just launches and runs. And in it, I probably have like 100 custom game files or more. Some of them are multiple copies of the same game, because back then, especially with the custom games, you couldn't just patch a custom game. You had to basically just recompile the custom map with the changed data if you wanted a new version. Like, I probably have 15 patches of the original Dota. Because it's the only way you could get updates.
Well, here's hoping they don't screw it up.
And not just offline, it needs LAN play, which is, you know, functionally offline, but intranet instead of internet. Because that was the coolest thing about the older Warcraft games, was you could have LAN parties and just hook together with a bunch of it.
They're also doing they're advancing World of Warcraft Classic to Burning Crusade.
Oh, nice.
Which I'm wondering, like, so are they just going to advance it through everything? Just
Would that
behind
kind of defeat
regular
the
Warcraft?
point?
What's that?
Would that just kind of defeat the point?
I know. Well, my question when it comes to World of Warcraft Classic, like, are they gonna still, like, eventually get rid of the stuff that they got rid of in the original Warcraft and make it all? Yeah, I don't get Warcraft Classic, World of Warcraft Classic. I mean,
I thought the whole point of it was just to be vanilla.
Yeah.
Also, if you're hearing any weird noise on my end, it's probably just my loud-ass computer when I talk. I have a noise gate on otherwise, so when I'm not talking, it cuts all that sound out.
Sound good to me.
Yeah.
It says, well, yeah, Diablo 2 needs LAN play. How else will you mule all your loot? Says Flit.
Yeah. LAN parties are great. I miss LAN parties. LAN parties were great. I was even actually still having them as late as, like, 2010 or 11 when I was in college. My apartment was the place to be. It was apartment unit 1206. Everybody knew which one to go. And we'd have anywhere between a minimum of 6 people, because there was 4 of us living there, and 2 of them had their girlfriends around all the time, to as many as like 20 people in the apartment at any point in time. One time we had a LAN party that had like 10 or 11 people in it. Had a very complex router just set up on the kitchen table with a bunch of just Ethernet cords going everywhere.
I wonder if my headphones keep going out because I'm like going to websites, or I don't know. My computer is very strange lately.
But I mean, we can still do similar things. We do virtual LAN parties. It's pretty much just playing online, but setting up our own virtual network.
Yeah.
It's better than like a lot of these online games, because you're creating a closed circuit, right? It's only you and the people playing. I actually wanted to do that with some of these old games. Like, I've been wanting to do some streams where I set up some old emulators, like 64, GameCube and stuff, and get some people to play on, like, NetPlay. Right? Like, maybe do a stream with the original Phantasy Star online, which you could actually have quite a few people playing on that one if you had multiple machines hooked up to each other.
Yeah. I don't think I ever did a LAN party.
Ever? Man, dude, especially with like Quake LAN parties were the shit. Halo, Warcraft, all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I played all those in college, but we had an intranet. I mean, I guess that was a LAN, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it was a little more than local area, right? Because the intranet is the college's network, right? That you're using.
Which was also connected to the internet. But yeah. I mean, we used to play, Warcraft 2 and stuff against each other.
Yeah, we actually used to do that at school for Halo. Back in high school, actually. A lot of us, we were done with what we were doing for the class, would hop on the computers and be playing Halo when we weren't supposed to. And we were playing on the school's intranet, just with anybody in the building.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much snuck around and installed the original Combat Evolved, like, I guess you call it a demo? It had full multiplayer functionality. You could just only play at, God, what was the name of it? It's called Coagulation in 2. I'm trying to remember the name of it in the first one. It was, oh, that's gonna bother me. Blood Gulch. And Blood Gulch was the only place you could play on. And yeah, it was just like default rules, and you'd play with anybody in the building.
Yeah. Well, everything I'm seeing, I mean, who knows? This is from a games urinalist. That it says that Blizzard is trying to avoid the mistakes they made in Warcraft 3 Reforged, and they're using a different subcontractor or whatever, a different development team.
Oh, that's good.
So hopefully it'll be good.
He was gonna try to cut it in before I did. Well, with the delay too, I probably still thought of it before I would have seen it in the chat. But he forgot how to spell Gulch. I was like, not Battle Creek, that's the tiny map.
Yeah, Halo didn't exist when I was in high school. In fact, LAN didn't exist when I was in high school. And the internet barely existed when I was in high school. GMT says nobody asked if anyone had a cell phone at BlizzCons.
You'll have phones, don't you? You know what the worst part is? I don't think people would have reacted so poorly if it wasn't being built up as if that was the big announcement of the night, right? Like, if they had hinted at ahead of time that it's like, hey, we've got some mobile games coming down the line, and then kind of just nonchalantly slipped in that there was going to be a Diablo mobile game, I don't think there would have been a huge reaction. But the fact that they were building this up like this was the next big game in the Diablo franchise, people are like, what? A fucking mobile game? Are you serious?
Exactly. You guys not have phones?
It shows you how much
Wasn't
they
there a
think
guy
about
who-
customers.
Wasn't there a guy who came up to the mic and was like, "Is this a joke? Is this an April Fool's joke or something?"
Yeah. Well, because, you know, they're not just Blizzard anymore. I mean, we've probably... Since then, I've said this for a lot of years, and people kept laughing at me. He's like, no, they're still Blizzard. But since then, we've heard other people say things like this, too, including Grums has said similar things. They haven't been the same Blizzard company for a long time, and especially once the merger with Activision happened, they basically just became the other side of Activision. Like, their policies started matching Activision as well. You can't relate them to the Blizzard that made all of these great games back in the day. They're not the same company. Even when Grums was talking about it, they let off, like, so many of their influential people that made these great games in that year that he left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course, what was the quote that he said? It was like, yeah, we're a real company now, so they do like mass layoffs and stuff.
Instead of like fragmenting it over a year. Staggered layoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bullet seems to be skeptical that there was no Halo when I was in high school. Bullet, I graduated high school in 1995.
Yeah. The Xbox was not a thing yet.
Yeah, there was no Xbox. There was no PlayStation.
There might have been a thought of Halo when you were graduating, because they had been working on it for years, but even then, it was originally being developed as an Apple game, delayed, and then eventually was finished on the Xbox that came out way later.
Yeah, as I recall, the big console at the time was the Super NES. I don't think the GameCube was even out yet.
Or the 64, which would have come out like
or 64.
After that. Yeah,
because
I think the 64 came out in '95, right? But that would probably right after you graduated, because I think it was a fall release, and most people graduated early summer.
I'd have to look that up.
It was either 95 or 96, but it was right around there.
Oh no! It was released in North America in September 1996, so I would have been a sophomore in college.
That was your off then.
I was a sophomore in college when the Nintendo 64 came out. I'm glad that I look young, though. That's nice.
Yeah, I do too, GMT. Says I just miss id. I mean, it still technically exists. It's not quite the same people.
It's owned by Bethesda now, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're still better at doing the things that Bethesda should be doing than Bethesda is. I mean, they still make their own engines for everything, and they're doing a bang-up job of that, and anytime they update it, it feels like a new engine and not just, like, turning the crank on an old machine to make it last longer. That's like I've said in previous casts, Bethesda just needs to have the id crew come in and do the next update to their whole, the creation engine or whatever.
Yeah, for, hopefully they did something amazing for whatever it's called,
Elder Scrolls?
Elder Scrolls 6 or whatever, if that's ever going to come out. That may never come out.
Yeah, last I checked, all we had was a JPEG with music, and not even, like, a whole title for it.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I'm sitting here complaining that Splatoon 3 is coming out, not coming out till next year. It's like, the Elder Scrolls hasn't had a new game for, like, what, a decade?
I like Activision.
Activision, yes.
Thank you for that. That's going to be my new name for the company.
There you go, Activision.
Yeah, actually, I've had some positive hope for Bethesda now that Microsoft owns them too. Because Microsoft, in general, has been steering in a better direction. They've been doing really great with customer support. They've been working with the other developers. I mean, they've got a good relationship with Nintendo now. I'm actually looking pretty positive for Microsoft in general. They're swinging around.
As far as I can tell, they've done a great job with Minecraft.
Yeah. So I would like to see if maybe they have this layer level of standards that they're going to start holding Bethesda to.
Hopefully.
And of course, then they let Rare put out that Battletoads game, so that might also just be a pipe dream.
Yeah. Is Rare owned by Microsoft?
Yeah. They've owned Microsoft. The funny thing is, they didn't realize that Donkey Kong was a Nintendo product, and when they bought Rare, they thought they were getting Donkey Kong with it.
Seriously?
Yeah, thought that? Whoever was in charge of Microsoft Gaming at the time.
Anybody could have told them that.
Yeah, after the 64, pretty much all Rare games have been in Microsoft's court.
Okay.
Yeah, no, whoever gave him that advice was just bad. I mean, Donkey Kong predated Rare at Nintendo. It's actually the thing that put Nintendo back on the map, like, immediately after a big video game crash.
I don't know why Buck's asking me that. He says, hey, Marsupial, although I think you'd probably have better luck with this. Get Rick to play Minecraft so we can watch him get people blown up by creepers.
I mean, I have no desire to play Minecraft myself, but I probably would have better luck getting him to play any game.
Yeah. I mean, I could play Minecraft with him online, since he's always looking for people to play with. Although I find Minecraft incredibly boring.
I do too. So. Like Ark, I find a little bit more entertaining. Not from a watcher, but I could see myself enjoying playing it. Just because it's more like Terraria than Minecraft. The way it works, you know, like with the leveling, construction, exploration. The bosses are even pretty well developed. There's more RPG levels to Ark than Minecraft.
And see, the problem with the game we played last night was that the progression was so fucking fast. I was just like, I can't wrap my mind around it. Like, maybe once I'm really familiar with the game,
you were basically in speedrun mode.
It was insane. I was just like, oh my god, I'm at level 95 in like 10 minutes and I can build anything and everything and I don't even know what I'm doing. So I found it more educational to play at the regular speed. And although
the speed that the developers kind of designed you to play it at when you loaded up the first time.
Yeah. Although it was kind of cool that Rick showed me some cool stuff that I didn't know about. You know, as far as like, I didn't realize that like the mortar and pestle was very important. I had no idea how to train a dinosaur, so he did show me some cool stuff. So I think when I play it again, I will be playing it at regular speed. Unfortunately, I guess I won't be streaming it because it totally broke OBS.
Yeah,
weird.
I might be streaming a game later tonight. Be a surprise for everybody, depending on how. I mean, I've gotten into the red a little bit, but I think at most it might have just caused a little bit of buffering to increase the distance between us and the audience. But at no point has it said I gone offline, so I think we're doing good. Eve.
Oh, Buck says he's got an external SSD coming, so as long as it comes on time, he can install it and maybe hop in with you guys. I assume you're talking about Ark.
Yeah. Him and I were talking about that earlier before the show started. Because that's the only thing that's stopping him from playing Ark is that it just takes up so much goddamn space. And, you know, we already are playing other games that take up a lot of space, like Phantasy Star and Red Dead, and Ark takes up even more space, I think. Actually, maybe Red Dead might take up the most. I haven't looked at how much Ark takes up. Both of them are huge-ass games. And he's probably just going to put these huge games to the hard drive.
Yeah, I had to install an update just to play with Rick, and it was 7.7 gigs.
Yeah. I think Ark might be
So,
bigger, especially having to install maps.
yeah. Anyway,
And then we just installed Steep 2, which is like only 30-something gigs for a map that's way bigger than Red Dead, because it's like the entire French Alps.
yeah.
I played a little because I watched Buck play the tutorial earlier in that night, and I was like, okay, fine, I'm going to play through the tutorial before I go to bed. And man, was I having fun. I did not score very well because I'm the type of asshole. I went into the options. It's like, trick safety. Why would I have that on? And I turned it off and I kept wiping out, but I was having a lot of fun wiping out. And then I started quickly getting to the point that I wasn't wiping out so much. Okay, it's like, I'm getting the hang of this. I know how to score the big points without flopping onto my face. And I was really enjoying it. I love those, like, downhill snowboarding games and stuff. And it's more than just snowboarding. It's got skiing. It's got, like, the wingsuit, paragliding and stuff. All kinds of extreme sports. And I'll double check right now, but as of last night or this morning when I bought it, it was only $6 because it's on the Lunar New Year sale at Uplay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. If anybody wants to get it and play with me, it's got multiplayer.
Well, I really couldn't play Ark until I got an SSD, though.
Yeah,
so
just how big it is.
It was well, no, it was just how slow it was.
Oh, yeah.
On a regular hard
Everything
drive.
moves faster on solid state.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it would take minutes to sitting there staring at it, waiting for it to load up. Just like, took forever.
Yeah, it's still on sale. If anybody wants to get Steep, it's you could get the Gold Edition, the X Games one for $10, or you can just get the standard for $6. Either way, you'll have enough to play with me. Maybe we'll do a stream. It was not taking up that much video memory, so I definitely can stream it. Unlike Red Dead, which kills my computer if I have that and OBS just running idle, trying to capture it, not even before I hit record or stream. That's not happening. Red Dead is such a poorly optimized game, I have to say. And why did I explode? Did I tell you about what happened to me last time I played Red Dead? I don't know if we did a Vomitorium stream since then.
You've told me, but yeah,
I don't know if I said it on stream. I was just selling stuff to the butcher, and all of a sudden my pocket explodes and I die. And then like the next few times, you know what, he says modders. Maybe I did say this on stream. Yeah, next few time I respawn, my pockets are just constantly exploding. I don't even think it's modders, because I looked and there was like almost nobody on the map at all. I was in basically a barren session. I think the game just is very poorly optimized.
Yeah,
unlike Steep, while I was playing it, and you can expect this from Ubisoft, I've got a lot of complaints about Ubisoft over the years, but they've actually been pretty good at making PC games run well. And unlike some companies, they actually still at least try to compress their data. I don't know why, because companies realize that memory is so cheap now that they're like, we don't have to compress games, let them be over 100 gigs, right? But Ubisoft takes this huge map and compresses it down to like 30 gigs. Thank you, Ubisoft. But the game runs great. I haven't had any problems in like the whole hour I was playing. It controls fine on mouse and keyboard, but I probably could have plugged in a controller. It doesn't make you pick your settings. It's got the mapping for all three at the same time, so it just detects your controller. You can switch between them seamlessly. I'm like, why? Of a company that I've complained about so much, mostly just because they don't optimize their console games, especially Assassin's Creed, are you the only one doing PC right out of like these other AAA companies?
Yeah.
Mr.
Squeaker thinks it was a mod. It was a modder.
Yeah, I know it only takes one. I don't think it was a modder. I could see why he would think it's a modder, though. Like, I could easily see it, but... There's been a lot of other just really janky things that have happened for no reason while we were playing. One of the most interesting things that we did was after the stream, after, like, Rick cut the stream, and we became pirates because I realized I could hijack a motorboat. And then we went up to, like, a tugboat because we were going to try to hijack that too, but you can't get inside to the controls. They're just kind of there. So I go back to get my motorboat, and as I turn back around to get them after getting on the boat, the tugboat is sinking, and Rick somehow sunk it. And we're like, Rick, how did you sink this thing? We went to another one to try to replicate it, and for the life of us, we could not sink that other boat. No matter what we tried. Yet somehow Rick sank this boat. Nearly killed both of them, too. Like, if I did not, speed the boat up to get to them, they would have drowned. Yeah.
Rick almost killed us. I don't know. He's amazing.
Yeah. Only Rick would find out how to almost kill them. Which game is it? There was Red Dead. Telling you that the PC version of that game is just jank as fuck. Horribly optimized. He's an aggro magnet too. Yeah, but that's freaking every game. He'll be like trailing 6 people on horses with guns, and then I'm the one who ends up dying because he runs right past me. I didn't even know he was there. Like, Rick, what are you doing?
We should play Don't Starve Together with Rick. See how long it takes for him to die.
I have Don't Starve Together. I wouldn't have to make any purchases.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
Someone should tell Mallet that he's streaming his Steam library.
Are you kidding me? Is that on Twitch?
Probably. He was on earlier. I caught him right before I went to bed. I sent him like a sleeping emoji, and then I clocked out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do. I end up dying a lot because I'm trying to keep Rick alive. It's like a babysitting job. Last time I kind of just left that up to Buck. I kind of let them run off, especially because Rick kept scaring away all of the animals and like basically trying to gun them down while riding his horse. After they were gone, I got off mine and snuck around and just kept headshotting the animals. I didn't want to waste bullets.
Mm-hmm.
That stream has been up for 10 hours. Whew.
Oh my gosh, 10 hours and 35 minutes?
Does he not realize that he didn't kill it? Is that the problem?
I think so.
He was in here a while ago. Hopefully he's still in the chat and hears this and knows to go turn it off.
Yeah, 10 hours, 36 minutes he's been streaming. And I bet you it's been mostly just looking at his
Steam library.
Steam library. Let's see what games he has.
What's a riveting
Firewatch.
stream?
It's got City Skylines, Bendy and the Ink Machine. Little Nightmares, that's a good one. Jurassic World Evolution, jeez. Marbles on Stream, what is that?
Oh, is that one of those streaming games where like you can put people's
probably.
heads on the marbles and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah, it also says that he needs a Windows update.
Yeah.
That is true. He does.
Let's see. Oh, well, we were just talking about Rare, so here's kind of something related to it, right? We're going to get back onto topics.
Sure.
Are you familiar with the game, what's it called? Star Fox Adventures? For the GameCube. Yes.
Yes,
are you
I've
familiar with
seen
the fact
people
that
stream.
it was not originally supposed to be a Star Fox game?
I think I've heard that, yes.
Yeah, it was originally going to be a game called Dinosaur Planet for the 64. And right near the end of development, it was an almost finished game that was near the end of the 64's life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
They pushed it back and reformatted it to be a Star Fox game for the GameCube.
Yeah.
Well, a distribution, like a testing distribution of the game was leaked today. And you can get a nearly completed version of Dinosaur Planet for the 64 that you can play on emulator right now. Well, maybe not even right now. I tried to use the link in the tweet before starting this up, and it was dead. It was not going through. Pretty sure a new link is going to go up within the night, right? But
yeah,
you can get it. It is not finishable. It will take some heavy hacking and modding to make the game playable from start to finish. But you can play a really big portion of the game, and you can see like the influences that it had on the finished version of Star Fox Adventures and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Why are all these things leaking?
I don't know. This one, which I had the story for it, they talked about it in one of the tweets. I think it came from some European country on disc. Like, somebody bought it and leaked it through. But yeah, because we were just... The GoldenEye leak happened recently, too. Right? They purchased the disc containing the build from a private game collection in Sweden. And it was... The date on the file, the build goes to December 1st, 2000. So it was pretty much past the life cycle of the 64 going into the GameCube. So it was like one of the last builds before they scrapped it in favor of doing the Star Fox.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was crazy, cool. Right? Because GoldenEye leaked recently.
Mm-hmm. And also... I feel like there was there was a recent early Zelda 64 build. Or, Ocarina of Time build that leaked recently.
And also the Space World build for the original Mario 64 demo leaked within like the last 6 months. There's a lot of leaks just coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how these things are all... It's like a cluster of them. By the way, there is a new link on that tweet, or below that tweet.
Good. I want it.
Yeah, I'm downloading it now. It's on archive.org.
Good. Let me see if I can find it.
Can I put a link? Put the link in the chat?
Yeah. If you drop it in the Discord chat, restream mod, and it'll let any link through. I don't know if you're a mod or not. I think I probably made you one. At least on one of the places.
There we go. You have to... It comes up with just like a picture of the CD, but if you scroll down and look on the right, there are several download options, including a zip file.
Oh, nice. That's what I want.
So you can get it there. So yes, the original server got completely overloaded.
That makes sense. I wasn't sure if they had gotten to it fast enough, because you know how fast some Nintendo can be, or if it was just because of too high traffic. But I do want to play it. Like, I'm very, very interested in playing it. Because that's my favorite Star Fox game. Again, well, it's a tie. It's between that and Command. I really like Star Fox Command. Because Star Fox Command really feels like the direction Star Fox should have been heading.
Mm-hmm.
The controls were awful because of the DS and forcing you to use the touchscreen, unlike some other DS games that gave you button-only options. But I really liked the way the game was handled, how it had multiple endings and paths and stuff like that. But aside from that, it's either Command or Adventure, which Adventure was just an open-world adventure game that was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Mallet showed up, so hopefully he'll end his stream. He says,
I
I
wonder
wonder
if
if
he
I
got any new followers.
Yeah.
Yes, Dinosaur Planet.
That was the original name of, what was it, Star Fox Adventure?
Yeah, Star Fox Adventure. Which is pretty much where the character Crystal came from, right? Like, the main protagonist they kind of just remapped to be Fox, but they, other than giving her a far more detailed model and making her even more Fox-like, they basically did not touch the character that became Crystal at all.
Was she a fox as well?
See, it's hard to tell what the original version of the characters were supposed to be. They look a bit more cat-like. And even Crystal, her face is a little more smushed like a cat. But yeah, she eventually was supposed to be a fox. By the time you get to Command, they fix the model. She looks even more fox-like than she was before.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah. But I'm excited to play a little bit. I also just downloaded Project 64 because, you know, fuck you, Nintendo. I like you as a company, but these are like the only way you can play some of these games now.
Yeah. Splatoon was originally a Mario game? Is that true?
I don't know about that. I know Splatoon was originally a few different things. It was a Miyamoto project. It looks like there's a lot of things in common with it in Sunshine. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point there was a build where it was a bunch of people with floods instead. But I just don't know that much about it to confirm it or not, or you know.
Oh, good. Mallet finally stopped his stream. Funny.
Yeah.
Mallet, you're halfway through an accidental 24-hour stream. Oh, well. He stopped it before it got to the 11-hour mark.
Yep. Yeah, it was in the stages of a Sunshine-style sequel. Like, I would believe that. Like, I would need some hard confirmation on it, but I would totally believe that because it looks like that type of game.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And I do know it was a Miyamoto project, who was basically the head of Mario development. I know the other guy who made it with him, I can never remember his name, the original Mario, is kind of like the director for Mario stuff, but Miyamoto still oversees everything involved in it. Just like how he helps Aonuma oversee the Zelda stuff too. But he was directly involved in Splatoon. That was kind of like his baby he was working on for a while. That's the most I know about the development of that game.
Well, I've got it downloaded. I don't know if I'll ever play it, but at least it confirmed that it is downloadable and that the zip is, is good. The zip file is good.
I'm gonna get NetPlay working on Project 64 and do some like classic Mario Party stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, most Kirby games didn't start out as Kirby games. That actually kind of just seems like Sakurai's lot in general, right? Like Smash Brothers was just being developed as a generic fighter that even had like just generic characters. In fact, Captain Falcon's moveset is pretty much just one of the original generic characters with a Captain Falcon skin slapped onto it. But when they were demoing it and selling the game to Nintendo, they slapped Mario and Luigi in there as like the demo fighters, and they liked it so much they sold it as a Nintendo branded game with a cross between different Nintendo fighters.
Mm-hmm.
Just sad. I'm talking about F-Zero before, and we're not getting news for that. At this point, Captain Falcon is a Super Smash Brothers character more than he's an F-Zero character.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Funny.
Let's see. But yeah, I didn't have much to say on that. I just thought that was a cool thing we should point out about the whole dinosaur planet thing. Maybe a lot of other people would like to check that out before it becomes hard to procure.
Yeah. Somebody asked a good question. What are we going to talk about since we don't have the we haven't done the RPG game yet? That's coming up tomorrow. We're doing that tomorrow.
Yeah, that's pretty much going to be moved to Wednesday. But I mean, that shouldn't be a problem because we're basically just switching how we do the blocks on Wednesday and Saturday. And we always have to fill that last hour on Wednesday anyway.
Yeah. And we haven't watched WandaVision.
Yeah. Which we could after
this
this or whatever. I could get it easily, or you could. It's not hard to get
Yeah.
it. You guys stayed up so late doing Ark last night, and that was the first night that my internet was back on that we didn't have time to really watch it.
Yeah.
Raining airplane parts in Colorado. Did something blow up?
What?
A Detective Donkey Kong game. I'm trying to figure out how... Like, I'm not going to say it wouldn't be entertaining, because Nintendo properties are so vague you could basically throw them into anything, but just trying to think, like, would that be that fun? I mean, we've already had, like, Detective Luigi, but most people hate Mario. Was it Mario Goes Missing, I think is the name of the game?
Wasn't that a kid's game?
Yeah, it was kind of like a learning type game. It was like a Carmen Sandiego thing where you go into different parts of the world looking for Mario.
Yeah, an educational game.
Yeah. Educational games aren't all bad. I mean, the Carmen Sandiego games are beloved. Just depends how well you make it. The Mario educational games have been kind of shit. Especially Mario Teaches Typing. Donkey Kong Detective Club. Only if, like, I actually could play as Funky Kong as the detective. I think that would make things more entertaining. The Funky Detective. Yeah.
So...
Donkey Kong does have a lot of cousins. He's related to things that it doesn't make sense that he's related to them, right? Or maybe Kong is more like a clan, right? And everybody just takes the name because they accept that they're in this clan. Because, like, Diddy is a monkey, not an ape. Dixie is a chimp. Diddy's called a chimp, but he can't be a chimp. He has a tail. He has to be a monkey. Lanky is an orangutan. Like, these things can't actually be directly related to each other. And if they are, that gets even creepier because he has a thing for Candy, who is also a Kong. So is he dating his cousin? There's too many things I don't want to think about when it comes to Donkey Kong. The only ones I want to know that are directly related to each other is that Donkey Kong is clearly the he's supposed to be the grandson of Cranky or the son. It varies. It depends on which manual you're reading. But he is a child or spawn of Cranky, who is the original Donkey Kong Jr. And Funky is directly related to him. Those are the only ones I need to know the connection. Everybody else can just kind of like bugger off.
You know what? I just figured out what is going on with my audio.
Oh, what?
It's the fact that I changed my computer to force everything to mono.
Ah. Okay.
I need to remember to turn that off before we do this, because you've cut. I mean, I've tried to not say anything about it, but yeah, your audio keeps cutting out just for me, like every 30 minutes, like for about 10 seconds. It's bizarre.
You kind of needed that when you were playing Final Fantasy, but if you're not playing it,
yeah, I need to.
New Donk
turn
City
that
Detective.
off.
I'm actually kind of upset that Donkey Kong wasn't in New Donk City in Odyssey.
Donkey Kong wasn't in New Donk City?
Nope.
Well,
there were a lot of references to there was that
Yeah.
kind of like Donkey Kong stage, but he himself was not in the city.
right. Oddly enough.
Yeah. Let's see. I did still have 2 stories left we could talk about, fill some time.
Mhm.
One of them was that CD Projekt Red had some code stolen from it. The source code for several games was put up for auction. And they're trying to use DMCA takedowns to slow the spread of it, which I guess, if anything, is a proper use of the Digital Copyright Millennium Act or whatever, Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Stolen source code is one of the justified uses of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, somebody got away with a lot of like the code for games that have not been released yet, and some games that have been released, and have been auctioning them off from CD Projekt Red. Trying to figure out why so many things have been leaking. I think a lot of people have just had too much free time because of COVID being stuck at home. A lot of people that are really good at getting inside people's infrastructure are like, fuck it, I'm getting some shit.
Yeah, I guess. But like, why just now? Like, just in the last month or two?
Because a lot of these people have probably had day jobs, and the longer we go, the more and more jobs are getting cut. Because, you know, the type of people that tend to be good at getting inside of infrastructure tend to be programmers and network security. Which would be, you know, some jobs are getting cut, but because most of those jobs can be done at home, they're going to be the last things to get cut, if anything.
Yeah. But need to put these people back to work.
Yeah, they've got too much free time.
Clearly.
Oh yeah, a robot was lucky enough to escape Earth because there's a another rover going down on Mars. That is happening.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Like the biggest and toughest rover yet.
Yeah, I guess they're going to be beaming some video in the next day or so. Day or two. I've heard. It's funny because someone at work was like, "Oh, so did you watch the video, I guess, of the rover landing?" And I was like, "Oh, no, I forgot about it. I was watching Nick Rekieta dunk on a bunch of idiot senators talking about GameStop." That's not exactly how I put it to my coworker, but that's what I was doing.
I couldn't watch it because my internet didn't come back until after it was already done. I could watch the recording now, but I couldn't like watch it live or anything.
Don't. It was boring.
No, was it?
No. Yeah. Basically, nobody asked the right questions.
I'm not talking about the GameStop thing. I was talking about the Mars rover.
Oh, that. Yeah, watch that.
Yeah.
Watch that.
No, I'm not gonna go back. Like if it's live, I'll watch Nick do something like that. I'm not gonna go back and watch a lot of those things.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Watch the Mars rover thing. apparently
going
yes,
down on Mars, a robot diary.
Going down, yeah. So I know what you were going to talk about.
Yes.
You were going to talk about the Mortal Kombat trailer.
I was. That's right. I did say that, but it's one of the things that I didn't have a tab open, so there was no reminder for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about my very mixed feelings on the Mortal Kombat trailer, because there's some things I really, really like about it, but there's also some red flags.
Before you get to that real quick, Bullet, yes, we heard about Liam and Nerd Wonder, and we have it on our list of things to talk about.
Yeah. We'll probably say that for the very end. We'll let you do your thing on that after I do the Mortal Kombat thing.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Which you said you liked the trailer.
I did. I thought it was really cool. But, I'm not all that critical because, I don't know, I just want a cool popcorn movie that I don't have to think too hard about.
And compared to the last Mortal Kombat movie that was made, it visually looks very stunning.
Which I liked the original first
I do too.
Mortal Kombat.
I know, not a big fan of Annihilation. I know there's a lot of people who like that one more, Mortal Kombat 2.
Was that the sequel? Yeah, no, I didn't like that.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan because it was less about the tournament, which is kind of like the whole point to Mortal Kombat.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the original. There's no Chun-Li in Mortal Kombat. That's
oh well, you know you didn't have the internet. Did you hear about that story? Where's Chun-Li?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't hear that story? Okay, so Idiot Games urinalist story. Somebody wrote, and I don't even care. Probably on IGN. I have no idea. Somebody wrote an entire fucking article about why wasn't Chun-Li in the Mortal Kombat trailer. Dead serious.
Wow.
An idiot wrote that article.
I actually have a good question about somebody who wasn't in the trailer. Right? I have two questions. First question is, who the fuck is Cole Young? Who does not exist in Mortal Kombat. He's the main character that was in the trailer. And where the fuck is Johnny Cage?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was Jezebel, and I don't even, I won't name the journalist, the urinalist. But later they had an update on the article that said, "Oh, we just figured out why Chun-Li was not in the trailer." Oh, and then like the next day after they got dunked on by everybody, they're like, "Oh, it's just a joke. It's just a joke, man. Yeah, we knew."
You sure? Jezebel.
That's right. All right. So yes, I was kind of like confused. Like, who is this character?
Yeah.
Obviously,
Cole Young he's a made up protagonist, MMA fighter for the movie. Unless he appeared in one of the most recent Mortal Kombat, I don't know. I tried looking him up because I didn't play the last one. I played 10, I think. I didn't play 11. Or was it 9? Actually, no, I didn't even play X. 9 was the last one I played. The one where they just called it Mortal Kombat. So unless they added him in like 10 or 11, I don't know. But I looked him up, and the only thing I found was articles from this week and wiki pages that were added this week of the character. So I think he only exists in this movie. And it's like, sure, yeah. Why can't Liu Kang be the main character? Or something like that.
They did have Liu Kang.
Yeah, he was in it, but he's clearly not the main protagonist. And I seen Kung Lao was in it too, which I love Kung Lao. He's a great character. I'm glad that he is in it. I saw a lot of characters. There were things I really liked about it. I thought the guy who played Sub-Zero, when he said, "I am Sub-Zero," that was executed really well. I thought the "Get Over Here" was weak at sauce. Like, it was horribly executed. It doesn't even sound like it's being muffled through a mask. It sounds like, you ever watch those College Humor Batman parodies where it's like Batman from the Dark Knight series? That's what it sounded like. It sounded like it didn't even sound like the way that he should be saying it. It should be like, "Get over here!" Yeah.
Where were the other drugs going?
Where is it? I'm sorry.
That's right.
Am I crazy? I know I'm crazy, but can anybody else understand what he's saying? Yeah. But I did like the whole, like, Kano wins. Like there were some really hype moments in there. I like the depiction of Kano so far. He's one of my favorite. Jax looks okay. Sonya looks okay.
Was it Jax who got his arms frozen off?
Yeah.
By Sub-Zero.
Yeah, he's got the.
Which I thought that was. Yeah, I thought that was a cool little explanation of what the hell happened to his arms.
Yeah.
Like, is that part of the lore?
Exactly? I don't remember. I'm not super deep in the Mortal Kombat lore. There's some things I know about it. It's not something I dug deep into. I always kind of just enjoyed playing the games. So if it was like surface level stuff, I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I thought that was a cool. Of course, it kind of spoils it in the trailer. Like, oh, this is how he got his arms.
Well, there's also like this finisher montage too. They're like, finish him, and then they have like this whole thing of them killing. Most of the people they look like they're killing weren't main characters, so I'm kind of glad with that. You wouldn't want to spoil who kills who in the trailer. That kind of feels like it would defeat the purpose of going and seeing the movie.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about
Gora look?
Yeah. Very, very briefly shown. And it was, I assume you watched the Red Band trailer, right?
I watched the longest one I could find.
Yeah. What do you think about the whole Scorpion, like in the original one, the Scorpion, whatever you call it, harpoon came out of his hand. And in this one, it looks like it's something he holds. I mean...
because I don't think they're skipping forward to when Scorpion's undead. I think that's the thing. Because in Mortal Kombat, part of the lore is that Scorpion dies and goes to hell, and he's kind of like on a mission of vengeance against Sub-Zero and the clan for taking out his clan. And that's a lot of that's why he's got the skull head and can breathe fire and some of his finishers and stuff like that. I don't think they're skipping ahead to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's not.
Because it looks like they are retconning some of the past.
So initially, he's not a supernatural creature.
He was originally a human before all that. Yeah. And I think they're trying to give an explanation because that is a real weapon that you see in like Shaolin Kung Fu and stuff. It's a tethered like dagger type thing. It's like a spearhead on a tether. You don't usually use it quite like that. But you can totally just toss it at somebody like a dart. Usually you see more flary type moves, things that distract the enemy, stuff like that. So they're probably just trying to come up with a more natural explanation for why he used that before any of the supernatural stuff gets involved. If the movie's good, obviously they're going to try to make sequels to it.
Yeah. So you said... When we were talking about it before, I was saying I just pretty much loved it. But was that all of your reservations that you had about it?
Well, there's a couple things, yeah. Like the choreography looks good. Even coming from somebody who is a fighter himself, like normally I'm kind of nitpicky when I see choreography, with like the exceptions of maybe a Jackie Chan movie or anything, because Jackie Chan does the choreography himself. But it looked fine. I at least from the trailer, I had no problem with the choreography. It looked like a balance of practical moves mixed in with the crazy Mortal Kombat stuff that you expect. And obviously the crazy stuff is going to be impractical, but you kind of want a balance there, right? You want something to ground you, and then you want the fantastic stuff to pull you back away. But yeah, it's like Scorpion in general, it just kind of seems a little off to me. Just how they're deciding to execute. I don't really care for the outfits for Scorpion and Sub-Zero. And I get it, they're trying to make them look a lot more detailed and probably more Chinese and more monkish. Even though they're supposed to be ninjas. But they've got like Chinese patterns on there. I don't know why. I think they should have just given them the more simplistic costumes. They work for a reason. They're like timeless. They could have just made the fabric more detailed or whatever, better stitching. So I'm not a big fan of their costumes, but it's mostly the Cole Young thing. And like I said, I'm not that deep in the Mortal Kombat lore. I don't know how off this feels, but it feels off to me. I don't like the idea of the brand being the invitation. There could be some root in the game that I'm just like forgetting because I don't remember that much about it. But just something about it feels off. And part of it feels like the way that they're working this kind of like insert protagonist, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought someone online was commenting on how the like a line in the trailer where it's like it's a birthmark, and then someone else said, "No, he was born with it," and then like the the dwarf from Infinity War is like, "Yeah, that's what a birthmark is."
Yeah. And I'm also upset that I didn't see Johnny Cage. Like, why would you put in? You could have easily made Johnny Cage the protagonist, right? Like, why create a new character instead of just using one that already existed if you didn't want Liu Kang to be the protagonist?
Yeah, it's weird to have an ensemble cast of so many characters, and like you have to add yet another one.
Yeah.
Like,
well, this was my problem with Resident Evil, right?
Yeah.
Is because I mean, I liked Raganar. She really didn't start out very Mary Sue-ish. It was really just 3 was pretty much the only time, and there was good explanations for that, and then she lost those powers again. But it's like Alice had no reason to need to exist in Resident Evil. She's not from the games. Plenty of great characters in the games. There was no reason for Alice. You even could have just found some other way of working Mila Jovovich in there as one of the characters that already exists.
Yeah,
but now they had to make up a character for her.
Excuse me. Well, but we all know why that happened.
yeah, well, because of her husband. The same reason why she's getting a insert protagonist for the Monster Hunter movies, too. I don't know about... This guy doesn't seem like he's exceptionally talented, though. Like, he seems like he's a pretty good fighter by, like, fighting standards, but not necessarily, like, Mortal Kombat tier. Like, he was the last pick or something. So he does seem like he's going to be the runt of the litter and going to have to, like, progress and prevail over challenging circumstances. If that's the case, that's good. At least we'll have a good, like, heroic narrative going on. Because nobody wants the insert character to necessarily just be, like, the best guy ever who was brought in because we needed another guy, and oh, holy shit, look at this dude. He's just going to cream the whole tournament. Right.
That would be a Mary Sue. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want
that. Would be. We don't want that. Like, if you're gonna make a new character, at least make it somebody who has to go through some type of, like, you know, narrative obstacle to overcome.
Mm-hmm. But we definitely need Johnny Cage doing the splits and punching someone in the ball.
I saw somebody try to make a theory that the new guy is Johnny Cage. He was down on his luck in acting and fighting under a pseudonym. Which, I really don't think that's the case, but I wouldn't mind so much if that ended up being true. Like, he could have easily just been Johnny Cage. He's got the look of a young actor.
Yeah. I think Bullet's right, though, that for some reason they have to change something, they have to add something, or they feel like they have to in order to justify... Like, people in Hollywood or writers in Hollywood have to justify their own existence. So.
They didn't have to do much to Detective Pikachu at all, which right now is kind of like my standard high bar for video game movies. The original Indiana Jones Tomb Raider's pretty high up too.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that that's right. I think it's completely wrong, 180 degrees wrong.
Yeah.
But, for some reason, that is a lot of people think that. A lot of people in Hollywood seem to think that.
Yeah. The other, like, I go back and I like the original Mortal Kombat so much because they basically didn't have to change anything to it. Like, I mean, there's some things that are off, but there also wasn't much lore to Mortal Kombat at that time.
It's a little campy.
Yeah.
But, you know, for the time, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, the worst part of that whole movie was just the way Goro looked. And like I said, just from this trailer, Goro looks fucking fantastic flying through the air with all 4 arms.
Well, they had like, that original Goro wasn't CG, right?
No, it was like practical effects, I think.
Yeah.
I think there was like a little mix of claymation in there to try to smooth things out, from what I remember. But for the most part, it was actually like a big guy with like an extended suit on top of his torso.
And then a fake head.
Yeah.
Like the head was fake, right?
The head was like entirely fake.
Yeah.
Because you don't even have a guy that big. Some of it was like camera tricks and stuff too.
Yeah.
But they didn't have, like, there was some CG in the movie. Right, you remember too, like, some of the effects didn't age well, like the scorpion skull face and stuff like that. But the actual tether aged really well. Like, I go back and rewatch it, and the CG of that thing, like, spiraling, that looks great, especially for the time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the effects aged really well in Mortal Kombat. Some of them just didn't. And the ones that didn't are the ones that stand out in your head the most. And Goro, in general, even though being like half practical effect, just did not age very well.
Mm-hmm.
But in the age of Marvel Avengers movies and stuff like that, the Goro in that trailer looked, again, fan-fucking-tastic. Like, I'll watch it no matter how many reservations I have, just for the fights. Like, I'm not lying. Like, I said I have some reservations, there's some red flags. I might be critical afterwards. I'm still watching this fucking movie regardless.
Yeah, is it coming out this year?
I did not pay attention. Maybe. Possibly.
Don't recall.
Detective Pikachu should have been voiced by Danny DeVito, damn it. I mean, Ryan Reynolds did an okay job. I mean, I like Ryan Reynolds, but Danny DeVito would have been closer to the actual voice of Detective Pikachu in the Japanese version of the game. Because, not quite. His voice is a little deeper than that, but it's a very gruff voice. It's like, what's a good character I can attribute that to? I guess it's almost like Detective Bullock in, no, he wasn't that deep. The character he turned out to be looked more like Detective Bullock. I'm trying to think of a deep Gumshoe voice. I'm spacing out on it right now. Bullock actually had kind of a high voice for somebody his size. I don't know.
What about
DeVito would have been better.
What about Detective Gordon in the Batman animated series?
Well, the thing is, Gordon would be definitely a lot closer to Bullock in that regard.
Yeah.
If you made him younger, right? Because Gordon was specifically trying to sound kind of older, the way he did the voice. If you like were to reverse the age of Gordon some, that might fit better.
Mm-hmm.
But he's kind of got like the stereotypical, every time the Japanese do a gumshoe, this is the voice that they give him.
Mm-hmm.
And Danny DeVito would have been great for that, honestly. I could think of other characters, like other voice actors or actors, period, who might do a better job, but he still would have been great for it.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Hollywood screwing up things, I heard Gina Carano was interviewed today on what's it called? Ben Shapiro's website.
No, the Daily Wire, I think is the name of
it. Yeah. Unfortunately, you have to pay for it to watch it, and I don't think I'm going to.
Yeah.
It'll be released on YouTube in a few days, I'm sure.
Probably.
Yeah. That whole thing is a big cluster.
Actually, you know who would have been a good one if he was still around? Thinking about it? Bob Hoskins would have made a great Detective Pikachu. He's already done the Detective Gumshoe role well before, too. As Eddie Valiant. I miss Bob Hoskins. He hasn't been around since, like, 2016.
He did a good job, I thought, playing Mario.
I liked both people. I like the movie, right? There's obviously some major flaws in the Mario movie. But also you have to think about how little lore there was about Mario at the time. Decided to take into this weird, like, grungy cyberpunk direction was an odd choice. But, like, the relationships between characters and stuff, there really wasn't much lore for Mario.
Mm-hmm.
There were 3 games, but one of them was, didn't act, well, technically their Lost Levels was more of just the first again. And the second game in America was just Doki Doki Panic, so you wouldn't use that for lore anyway. And I think Super Mario Land was already out as well, but...
Yeah. Yeah, because they had Princess Daisy.
Yeah. And I guess they just assumed Daisy and Peach were the same person.
Yeah. It's weird. What do you mean, GMT? Mario's last name is Mario.
Yeah. I mean, it's been unconfirmed, but also reconfirmed since then. Like, when people asked what Mario's last name, Miyamoto said Mario. I know he's flip-flopped on it, but it's his last name is Mario.
Mario, and Luigi Mario.
Sometimes he said he just didn't have a last name. It's just like Madonna. It's just Mario. But that doesn't really work when you say the Mario brothers, and that's why Mario, Luigi, Mario work.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But what didn't Bob-ombs, weren't those first in Super Mario Brothers 2? / Doki Doki, whatever. Doki Doki Panic?
Possibly. I don't remember them being in the original Mario.
Yeah.
I remember them clearly being in 3. Shy Guys were first in Doki Doki. I know that one for sure.
And, I mean, Bob-ombs were definitely in that.
Oh, Bob-ombs were
so
in the movie.
Yeah, so they did get a bit. I mean, because there was a Bob-omb at least in the movie.
I don't remember when Bob-ombs first showed up. But that's also because I don't play the original Mario that much.
Yeah.
At all.
They had the original Mario had bullet bills, did not have Bob-ombs. Like those came about in Mario 2.
Yeah, it does say Doki Doki Panic. I see it.
So they got that lore from there.
Yeah. Well, so the thing that I do think they pulled from what it does come from 2 is
and Big Bertha. She was from 2.
Yeah. So there were some because the giant Cheep was in the original one. There was a giant Cheep in the original. I don't know if they called it Big Bertha. The name might have came from Doki.
Yeah, no, I think Big Bertha was in 3. Was she?
She was in 3, for a fact. Because there's also the tiny Cheeps came out of the mouth in 3.
No, I have to look it up.
Yeah. That might be where the name came from, though.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 3 was the one I mostly played. Like, you asked me if a character was in 3, I could tell you if it was 3. I've got, like, 3 memorized from start to finish. I could tell you where all the secrets are. But I was basically at speedrun level for 3 at one point in time. It was the game me and my dad played all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was down to, like, 8 minutes at one point. But, what I was saying, like, some of these characters also might have come from the cartoon. Right? Like, even though they were in Doki Doki, the reason that they were brought in was probably because the cartoon had them as well.
Right.
Because the cartoon had stuff from 2. You see even, what are they called? The ninja, the little black star looking things. And Shy Guy, and, the Ninja. And all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I love the cartoon. I've got the whole Super Show on my computer.
Yeah, so Big Bertha, I guess, was in the cartoon as well as the first game it showed up in was SMB 3.
Okay. I remember Bertha being in 3, like, very clearly.
Yeah.
Bloopers, I know, were in the original. They were prominent in 3, but they were in the original. And you first see them in 2, too. You also see them in -1.
Yeah.
That trap that you can never leave until you die.
Mm-hmm. Which is not really -1.
No.
It's basically world 0-1.
But everybody just calls it -1.
Yeah. But anyway, we digress.
Yeah. There just really wasn't much lore to Mario. Alright? I mean, even talking about some of the characterization that we get for the characters now came from the cartoon, right? Which the characters, they obviously acted different in the movie than the cartoon, but Luigi's, like, scaredy cat nature was adopted from the cartoon. It was there before it was in any game. Which that's my favorite version of Luigi, is the one from the Super Show. Because he had excuses for everything. They're like, we have to go rescue Toad from Birdo on top of that mountain. And he's like, oh, I can't. I'm allergic to mountains. Or one of my favorite ones is that they need to do something. And he's like, oh, I can't. I'm pregnant. And then everybody looks at him all strange. And especially Peach, who's the only person who get pregnant in the room, gave him like the most sassy look you could possibly ever give a person.
And then they made Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah. Oh, Mario! I'm scared.
It cemented his personality, I think.
Yeah.
So what were we talking about before that? How do we get to that from Mortal Kombat?
Oh, we were just talking about video game movies, and they actually had a lot in common, because Mortal Kombat and Mario, there just both wasn't a lot of lore surrounding the movies when they made them.
Yeah, around the original movie.
Yeah, which I like the fact that there's not a lot of lore. What do? They stick to the tournament.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much all you can gather from that game at the time, is like there's a tournament going on for the fate of the Earth realm.
I can't figure out why the hell they can't just stick to the fucking lore in Doom movies. What the hell?
I don't know, man.
Like, Jesus Christ. Like, even in this last one, I liked this last Doom movie better than the original, all right? I thought it was better.
Yeah.
But
it's
still
not a high bar.
Portal to hell. Still no portal to hell.
Yeah.
The motherfuckers. They're not aliens. They're not like,
they're fucking demons.
Some sort of they're not genetic experiments. It's a fucking portal to hell.
Some of the enemies are literal just rips of demonic enemies from Dungeons and Dragons. There are fucking beholders in Doom.
Yeah. Like, why? Is that too much for you? Like, you had the imps. That was kind of cool in the last one. You had, shooting fireballs.
The first one only had one saving grace, and that was the first person sequence in it. Like, I would isolate and watch that sequence over and over, but I don't want to watch the rest of the film.
I don't get it. Like, do they think it's not believable enough that, I mean, that's what I liked about Event Horizon, was that it was like, it's a fucking portal to hell. It's like actually hell. I mean, presumably it's a little bit of mystery, but it's like, what is wrong with you? Why does it have to be aliens? Why is that more acceptable, believable? Yeah. Maybe it was China. I don't know.
Fucking
it's just like,
probably look at Doom 3. Which still kinda had that, but was also trying to make it seem like aliens and taking on more and more of the... I mean, Mars was always involved, but more of like the deep Mars route than actual hell.
But you still, at the very beginning, this portal opens up, right?
Yeah.
And all these demons come out and, like, possess people and stuff.
But it seemed like for a while they were trying to move further away from it, and then as of, like, the reboot, they're like, no, dude, fucking full on, this is what Doom is supposed to be.
Yeah. That pisses me off.
Yeah, let's not look at
that. I was like...
Well, you can't, because there's no mod to let you duct tape your flashlight to your gun. You can't see it all during Doom 3.
That's right. Wait, there was a mod for that, wasn't there?
Well, there's an out-of-game mod that you could do. There's no, like, in-game ability to mod your flashlight onto your gun or anything like that. There should have been. That should have been, like, an unlock. Maybe for the first area or whatever, make you suffer through the dark, and then you, after going left in a way that you should have went right. You found a mounted flashlight for your gun.
It's funny is I actually bought Doom 3 when it first came out because I loved 1 and 2.
You're just wasting bullets so that the sheen of them hitting the wall is lighting your brain. That's a trip.
Anyway, that was a minor rant.
Yeah, I agree with you though, because I fucking hate there's some parts of the original Doom movie I like, but as a whole I fucking hate the movie. And it's like, why can't they just do it right, man?
And I feel the same about the more recent one.
Yeah.
I feel like there are more parts of that one that I liked. But it's like so freaking close and they just couldn't do it. No, it's aliens, like some sort of supernatural aliens too. It's like, what?
Yeah, then why am I watching this? I'll just go watch something where the original plot's about supernatural aliens.
Yeah. Bastard.
I even brought that up too. I really like the first person section in the first Doom. If there was more of that and they actually followed the lore of the game, I probably would have enjoyed the whole movie.
Yeah, that was pure fan service right there.
Yeah, he wakes up, adrenaline rush, and just starts totalizing everything, rip and tear.
They just needed The Rock was just pointless in that movie.
The Rock, who was becoming one of these mutated demon things that wasn't really a demon, but also not, still retaining being The Rock because he's The Rock.
Yeah. Best. What are we listening to now?
I don't know. Let me look. A Super Mario 64 remix.
Interesting. Lyrics. The Rock is easy on the eyes, says GMT. Okay.
I'll be excited for Black Adam if that ever actually comes out. I mean, I like The Rock, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's a fun guy. He's a good actor for what he does. I wouldn't cast him in everything like they're trying to. I don't know. There's just... That was unnecessary. Remember when actors didn't have to show their faces? They did, but people were playing characters. And then people get mad when, what's his face? God, he was in Ragnarok. He played Judge Dredd recently. He also played Bones in Star Trek.
Why is GMT pointing there?
Carl Urban.
Urban.
Thank you.
There we go.
Carl Urban. Some people were mad that he never took his helmet off at all when he played Dredd. They're like, no, that's exactly what he was supposed to do because Dredd doesn't take his helmet off. I'm glad he was like that. Because he was playing a character. And that's what he does. He's a guy who plays a character. It's not Carl Urban in this role. It's, I'm playing this role. And that's how an actor's supposed to be. Anybody who's been on stage knows what acting is, and it's kind of not become that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm mad that the Mandalorian did take his helmet off.
Yeah. And they justified it as like, oh, it was just a droid around. Or whatever. Go, fuck yourself.
No, they didn't even do that. I mean, they did at first.
But then he started taking it off a lot more.
Yeah, in front of people. It's like...
And that's the thing, too. At first, people were trying to justify it because it only happened that one time in that season. And then it started happening more because it's already happened. It's kind of like opening the Pringles can. The first time you open it, it's just going to keep getting opened more rapidly after that.
That's right. This is not the way. Sorry.
It's like a character like Snake Eyes. You're not supposed to see what's under the helmet. It has nothing to do with the lore. It's part of the mystique of the character.
Yeah. Yep. Or Shadow from Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah, I don't want to see Shadow's face ever. I'm perfectly fine the way he is. He's just tough, badass mercenary ninja. Who I think was actually even directly inspired by Snake Eyes, if I recall.
Probably.
Yeah.
What was his dog's name?
Ah, Frank, let me think about that. I should know. Because he won't even work for you unless you give him enough money for his dog food.
Interceptor.
That's gonna bother me. Interceptor? Yeah.
Yeah.
There was some edgy.
Funny, interesting bit of trivia that I learned. Before this, I was watching a speed run of Final Fantasy VI. Interesting thing about Interceptor, he is a permanent status condition. Interceptor, a permanent status condition on the character of Shadow.
Yeah.
There is a creature, I forget the name of it, but there's an enemy that can cast a spell that can remove a status condition from a character and put it on the creature. I forget what the creature's name is, I forget what the spell is, but in rare instances, you can totally lose Interceptor permanently if it casts that on Shadow.
Did not know that. I've never been in that circumstance.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up, but there's also, I think that you can actually learn that spell too. So, if you're careful, you can actually get this creature to cast the spell
and move it to
Interceptor away from Shadow, move it to another character, and it's permanent.
Well, I knew it was a permanent status, but I didn't know it worked that way. Because in a lot of Final Fantasy games, when you have a permanent status, it's an auto status. So what that means is if it gets dispelled, the next time the turn comes back, the status comes back. But apparently it's not an auto status, it's a unique permanent status.
Yeah. And they were talking about, so you can give Umaro Interceptor as a companion.
That sounds broken as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I had no idea that was the case.
Because Umaru's strength stat is through the roof. And Interceptor's damage that he does is based off of the Shadow's strength.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds broken.
So, it is an interesting little...
Alright, I have to use the restroom. If you want to begin to set up the next thing you wanted to talk about, because you wanted to talk about the nerve thing.
That'd be good, because I don't want to end on that.
Yeah, we don't have to end on it. We'll still have some time after that. So I'm going to go use the restroom real quick. You can set that up.
All right. So Metal's unfortunately going to miss the whole story, but I guess I will just tell it and give my take, because I guess that's the important thing. So I thought that I might have a slightly different take from some people on this, but I don't know. Maybe it won't be all that different. So, excuse me. So there's an interesting story today on Twitter, our favorite place for drama. It's related to Comicsgate. There is what I like to call an internet spurg, complete moron and total... no, he's not a psychopath. I'd say he's a paranoid schizophrenic named Liam Gray, who's constantly talking about drama and thinking that people are out to get him. So apparently, he made a comic book called Xenotype, and for this comic, he hired, or I guess contracted, Your Nerd Wonder, who is a wonderful artist who actually did one of my little profile pics. That's currently my Twitter profile pic. The little doodle of the marsupial. And so he contracted her to do a chibi version of the Xenotype characters. And apparently within that, while they were doing that contract, they would talk and they became friends, which is perfectly normal. I'm talking about Liam and Your Nerd Wonder. And apparently some of their conversations got into some personal stuff. And then this happened. So Your Nerd Wonder put out this on a series of tweets And whatever you think of the leaking DMs, she leaked some DMs between her and Liam. And I'll read some of them. So Liam basically hit on her. He says, I don't know what happened before this that I'm reading, but yeah, so he basically started to role play, and he said something about putting his hand on her cheek and tracing his fingers back along the edge of her ear, and then kisses her passionately.
I hate
This is
that
in a
type of
Twitter.
shit.
Yeah. They're basically trying to do some phone sex kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
no,
via
I never,
Twitter DMs.
Never understood
Is
that.
it incredibly stupid to do that over Twitter DMs.
Yeah.
So she immediately said, so here's the thing. She's an adult.
Yeah.
She handled it, I thought, quite well. So she says to him, hate to say it, but I'm really not into the whole sexy roleplay thing. She says it reminds me a lot of the furry stuff.
Same.
And he says, fair call. And then she says, I'm just not into sexual romance. And he says, that's cool. I made a move to see if you were into me, and you said you weren't, so all good. If it had ended there, I don't think,
fair.
in my opinion, that would have been any big deal whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because at that point, he hit on her. She said no. He said, all right, that's cool. And I think a lot of people. Here's the thing. I feel like a lot of people feel that what he did there was inappropriate, and I would have to disagree with that. If he wants to hit on her, fine. As long as she says no, if she says no, as long as he's like, all right, that's cool, that's fine. So I mean, that's sort of my take, is that like a lot of people were saying it's inappropriate from the very beginning because of their business relationship. I have to disagree with that.
I never liked that idea, right? Like, I get from a certain standpoint, especially if you're working in a larger business, not to mix work with pleasure, right? But, like, where else are you supposed to meet somebody, right? And most people will end up meeting a romantic interest in some place of business. Especially because you're more likely to have something in common with somebody that works in the same field that you do and stuff like that. Totally get the hint in either direction if somebody's interested or not. But, like, the idea of not mixing work and pleasure just never made any sense to me from just even a strategic perspective, let alone any type of emotional one. Yeah, read the room, though. That's what I'm saying.
Right. So anyway, he doesn't read the room.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, then he goes into this, and this is classic. This is wonderful. He says he's basically trying to explain himself that he says he's basically not used to chasing girls, and he says that I'm usually the one who's wanted because I can barely say this. And if you know Liam Gray, he's skeevy, he's bizarrely orange looking, and not very attractive, and just a weird guy. He says, I'm usually wanted because I'm good at sex and I have money.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. So then he says,
money
so
part,
when
maybe. Money is a pretty big attraction factor for women. Or just resources in general. It's not the only one. That's why there's a lot of people who have a lot of money that don't get laid.
But if you've been following this guy, he is constantly talking about how much money he makes or how much money he has. And it's like, dude, like, that's just not very classy.
Well, it's also like, okay, so I could tell you somebody when I was younger, I was the one that was being chased by women. I basically had to beat them away with a stick. Typically, if you're that person, you're not the one jumping into RP chats with people. Right? Like, his behavior doesn't follow that pattern.
Yeah.
It's completely unbelievable.
Yeah. So then I guess they must have talked about that before.
Yeah.
And she said that I guess money doesn't matter to her or whatever, which is fine. They said, so when those things don't matter to a girl, I'm a bit lost. So then she basically, I won't read the whole thing, but basically she's like really, if you know Nerd Wonder, she's a really down to earth, nice person, and
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
think she felt that, okay, this has become a little awkward. I want to try and, because we still have this working relationship. I want to try and not make it awkward, make him feel like, oh, don't worry about it. Okay, I'm not interested, but it's not a big deal. It's fine that you said
Yeah.
that. So she's just like, I'm not really into long distance relationships, because he's in Australia. She's somewhere in the United States.
She's actually in
Right.
my area. She's at the northern end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know
but
exactly.
then she
This
says,
is not like a doxing thing or anything. She was gonna hold like a DFW movie thing for one of the Marvel movies once, and it just ended up falling through. But that's the only reason I know she's in my area.
Right. So then she says, but it's no big deal. I value our friendship a lot and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So right after she says, I value our friendship a lot, then he says, so do I, but I'd still love to have our friendship and fuck your brains out.
Oof.
And then he says, #romance.
That's not a way to win somebody over. Especially if you are trying to win somebody over who's not interested. Not that I'm recommending you do that. Again, read the room. The best way to do that is to genuinely kind of be friendly to them. And, progress in a direction where you seem more and more like a suitable mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it's sort of one of those, boy, that escalated quickly, meme. Because she's like, okay, she's already said no. Now she's just trying to smooth things over and be like, it's all right, I value your friendship. I'd really like to fuck your brains out.
Yeah.
Like, what the? Where did that come from? So anyway, then she says that she's basically after this exchange, and then she says like that, yeah, that's not going to happen. After that exchange, essentially, he fired her because she turned him down, or that is the prevailing allegation. Like it's kind of these things. It's hard to tell the 100% certainty that's why, but basically from that point forward, the relationship went south. The business relationship.
Yeah, that sounds like a malfeasance suit, if anything. Like, I probably wouldn't follow it. I probably wouldn't want to deal with this guy any. But in both countries, you're not allowed to just end a contract because of that.
Yeah, of course he gave some excuse. Oh, she was too slow or something. But so I don't think there's any. There's nowhere to go with that.
I wouldn't follow it anyway. I would just put distance between it.
Yeah, but I guess she put it out there because it happened, and that is something that I think. What's that?
Well, it sounds also like, hey, don't work with this creep. Kind of like just a warning,
exactly.
Like maybe other women out there or something like that who might want to work with him.
No, Pope Raven, Rick didn't say that. It was this weirdo Liam Gray.
Who
so
I
anyway,
normally try not to pay any attention to. Mm-hmm. He just kind of seems like a turd not worth being on the radar most of the time.
Yeah, definitely not. It's funny, there's been a lot of like memes, like a lot of #romance going out there, and not my xenotype and all that kind of stuff. So so that's the name of his comic. But my take, and some people may agree or disagree, is that I don't have a problem with like office romances.
Oh,
I mean,
I
obviously you have to be careful.
Yeah.
And you got to read the room, and you got to take cues and stuff. But personally, without getting too personal, let me just say my first interactions with my current partner were initially business related. Yeah. And it escalated quickly so not only that, but A, we were working together. B, we were across the country from each other. I was in Tennessee and she was in California, so long distance. I mean, I'm just seeing similarities in the potential similarities. And C, there's a big age difference, right? I'm pretty sure Liam is quite a bit older than Nerd Wonder.
I have no idea how old either person is.
What's that?
I said I have no idea how old either person involved here is.
I think that Liam is in his 40s, and I think Nerdwonder's in her 20s.
Yeah, she's probably closer to my age, I would gather.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know. I'd better judge if, say, that group CG movie thing didn't fall through, because you can usually tell approximately when you meet someone in person, but it's like, it's hard to tell from somebody's voice over the internet, because some people sound older or younger than they actually are.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she's pretty young.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I saw some similarities in that, and you know, and in our case, things escalated pretty quickly, but it was totally mutual. So, you know, I've actually been kind of waiting and wondering if someone was going to be like, yeah, you should never have a relationship with someone you're working with, or there's some sort. And I actually haven't seen that a lot. I think most people are like, from beginning to end, this was a really skeevy interaction, and he kind of went like, I'm hitting on you. Oh, okay, you're not interested. Like, shooting to the moon with.
Well, what's weird is it's a weird cultural thing that it even popped up not to date somebody you're working with or anything like that, because if you look at most cultures across the world, or even historically, you're kind of expected to end up with somebody who's within your related field, or even in your business, right? Especially, I think in Japan, it's still the expected that you're probably going to end up, if you don't meet the person you're going to marry in high school, you're probably going to meet them in your first place of business.
Probably.
Yeah. And like, even a lot of my favorite mangaka talk about being in the comic industry. Most of them are married to another mangaka. Or an editor or something like that. You know, it's like, I never understood that. Like, I get the worry, because you're like, oh, you can jeopardize business relations. But, like, if you're reading the room right, if you're not some creep, this almost seems like it's specifically advice for sleazy businessmen to not mix business with pleasure, right? Like, there's a very specific crowd that this is advice for, because a normal person doesn't have this problem.
Yeah. The only other thing I'll say about this is that Nerdwonder, being a strong, independent woman that she is, I don't think she needs any kind of sympathy in this situation. I mean, except for the whole he fired you because you turned him down thing. I mean, that's definitely skeevy, but she's been really very, very strong about this. And like, when people are like trying to defend her and stuff, which is fine, but she's like, yeah, no, I'm fine. It's just a thing that happened. She's like, I'm not a victim. I'm not, you know, this isn't a thing that happened to me. It's just a thing that happened. And I thought I should put it out there. So she's been very, she's not doing this for clout. She's not doing this for sympathy or anything like that. She's just saying, hey, look, this is a thing that happened. And so I, you know, and then even when people I saw somebody say like, oh, I've seen some people criticizing her, and she's like, really? I haven't seen that at all. She's like, I don't think anybody's criticizing me. I mean, maybe there are, but she doesn't care, because she's pretty awesome, and she doesn't need a bunch of simps, you know, out here saying, oh, I'm sorry this happened to you. So she's been pretty cool about it. Yeah, there you go. Flit says, straight up said, she's not a victim. Don't treat her like one.
Yeah, well, like when you brought it up, this first time I even heard of any of this, because, like I said in the beginning of the cast, absolutely no internet since like Tuesday morning.
She put this out there literally this morning.
This morning?
So,
it might have even
today.
I don't know. When did that happen this morning? Might have been while I was
10
sleeping.
a.m.
Yeah.
Probably.
So I went to sleep around 9:30.
Yeah.
And then I didn't wake up till 4.
Yeah.
And it's not like the first thing I do is rush over to Twitter.
Yeah. I just wanted to point out that she's a cool chick, and she's definitely not in any way, shape, or form a victim. She is the actual strong, independent woman that people should admire. Definitely not looking for sympathy, retweets, whatever. So.
No, we have not watched WandaVision yet, Rick. We probably would have last night if you guys didn't spend all night playing Ark. Yeah. But nope. That's
anyway.
I'll have to talk about this some other time.
I did not want to
took
end
a little
on
longer,
that,
so I guess that is probably going to be what we ended on.
What, WandaVision or?
No. The story you didn't want to end on.
Oh.
We got like
what
5 minutes. What are we gonna? Unless you want to go like an extra 5 to 10 minutes because we didn't have a podcast Wednesday, we could always do that.
Well, tell me, what are you hoping to see on WandaVision?
More sitcom stuff.
Or do you care? Yeah.
That's what I enjoy about that show.
So it's weird. Last time wasn't really a '90s sitcom. They kind of skipped the '90s.
Yeah. Which I was kind of upset. I was hoping that they were gonna do a what's the name of that frickin' show that the Olsen twins were on?
Full House.
Full House. I don't know why I couldn't think of it. I was hoping they would do Full House since she's the younger sister of the Olsen twins. I thought that'd be pretty fitting.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of just skipped straight to Malcolm in the Middle, which was exactly the year 2000.
Yeah. So what else are they going to do?
I don't know.
I mean, do you think they're just going to not do the sitcom thing anymore, or because they're kind of out of
How many
decades?
episodes are left?
What more possible sitcoms could they? Trying to think of later sitcoms.
Any idea when we're gonna watch it? I don't know. Probably tomorrow. I figure since we don't have a podcast tomorrow, we're gonna be doing earlier stuff because it's the RPG. We'll have time to watch it in the evening. I think tomorrow's a good time.
You move on to soap operas. They could do Modern Family, I suppose. I don't know.
I like Modern Family. I think that's actually a pretty good show. That and I just like Ed O'Neill. I'd probably watch anything if you put Ed O'Neill in it.
Yeah.
Except maybe porn. I don't think I'd want to watch that, but just shy of that, I'd probably watch anything.
What was the movie with Ed O'Neill where like he's driving across the country with like two girls, and one of them puts shaving cream in his mouth at one point when he's sleeping?
I know what you're talking about. What is that?
That's like the only scene I can remember. He puts shaving cream in his mouth, and he wakes up and he's like.
My actual favorite line from Ed O'Neill comes from a movie where he wasn't even a primary character in it, and it was in Wayne's World, and like the camera just stops following them for a second, and it's him at the diner, and he's like, "Why is it when you kill a man in the heat of battle, it's heroic, but when you kill a man in the heat of passion, it's murder?" And he's like, "Whoa, what are you doing? Only Garth and I are allowed to talk to the camera. Come on."
Oh, it was Dutch. That's
Dutch. Okay, yeah. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah. So we're doing the tabletop role-playing game tomorrow at 2 p.m. 2 o'clock Central. That's cool.
Yeah, the Goldbergs was made in the 2010s. I don't know if it when did it start, though? I mean, at least it was running in this last decade. I don't know when it started. I don't know how long it's been going. I don't think it's been on that long. Oh, excuse me.
I don't think I've ever even seen that.
It's pretty good. It's a Happy Madison production. And the guy who writes it is the actual main character, like the older version of him, the Adam Goldberg. And it's about
I have seen that.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
But here's the problem.
but that takes place in the 80s. So that
yeah,
kind of
well, the only
completely-
thing would be the production style, right? That would be the
Yeah,
only thing they
yeah.
can mock. But if you talk about that, it's very much a Malcolm in the Middle style show in production, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like... I like it,
Yeah,
though.
I
It's a good
completely
show.
forgot about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that show too. I completely forgot about it. Yeah.
The Middle is another show from this last decade that's done in a very similar production style.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They
haven't
could
watched
do that
the Brooks in a
70s show.
while. The 70s show, yeah. But I hate laugh tracks. I freaking hate laugh tracks so much.
Yeah.
Like, I loved that 70s show when it came out. I loved watching it. I tried to go back and watch it, and, like, it's nails on a chalkboard every time the laugh track comes out.
Yeah.
It's actually... I was enjoying The Ranch for a while, but it's that same type of 3-panel production, and it grains on you after a while.
Mhm.
That, and because of the dumb Me Too thing, they got rid of Danny Masterson, and I like Dax Shepard, but it's just not the same dynamic.
Mhm. I just like Kelso from that 70s show. He's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Well, it's one of the reasons why I liked the Ranch was because Ashton Kutcher played another dumb character, and also what's his name, Sam Elliott. You can't go wrong with him.
Yeah.
And I liked it because the character that Kutcher and Masterson played had a very similar dynamic to Kelso and Hyde.
There was a dynamic between Kelso and Hyde.
Yeah. There's a pretty strong dynamic between those characters.
Hmm.
Especially it was mostly Hyde bullying Kelso.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I have no idea what's going on in the chat right now. I don't know if I want
I don't know either. They're talking about asking Elric and Raven and something about being suggestive. I don't know.
Move to medical sitcoms where you get like Scrubs.
Yeah.
I love Scrubs though. The Scrubs is a great show.
See, and that would be perfect. They could do the music, the part where he goes, "I'm no Superman."
Yeah.
Perfect.
I don't know if they can get away with that in a Marvel show.
Yeah.
Remember, I rewatched Scrubs not too long ago. It's such a great show. I think of every time I see Eagle's name, I think of Scrubs because I think of JD on Turk's Back going, Eagle!
I just love what's his name. The doctor is always telling them they're all idiots.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Cox.
Yeah, I love Dr. Cox.
Yeah. That's, God, what's that actor's name? He's a great actor. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah. There you go. They started out with, "I can't do it all on my own.
Yeah.
I'm no Iron Man." Perfect.
But he was in another show that I thought was really good not too long ago. I think it was on either Stars or Showtime. I'm pretty sure it's Stars. And it was underlooked because it came out at the same time that Ash vs. the Evil Dead came out. It was his name. It's like something McGinnis. I can never remember his name. Maybe it's like Brian McGinnis or something. Or is it McGillis? I don't know. But it was Stand Against Evil was the name of the show. And he was basically a sheriff whose wife was like fighting witches and demons the whole time. And he didn't know that, so his wife finally dies, and now every single one of them are coming after him. But he gets thrown off of the force at the beginning, and another, like a woman comes in to replace him as sheriff. And so he's like the old one, and she's like the younger woman. And then he's got like his... I have no idea what's going on with his daughter. She probably has like Asperger's or something like that. But she's like 30 years old and acts like she's still a teenager. And it's just them against like grindhouse style monsters and demons and witches every single week. really ridiculous stuff. And it's just great. I highly recommend it to people. Not enough people saw Stan Against Evil. And that was the character's name. His name was Stan.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. It's a great show. And I would watch that guy in like almost anything. I can remember like some of my favorite parts in movies that I'm not even like that into the movie I like because he's in it. Like Wild Hogs, okay movie. When he plays the gay cop that finds them in the woods, great. Are We Done Yet with Ice Cube? Okay movie. His character, who's like the guy that does everything in town, he's even got a different hat for each job. Amazing. What's the other? Platoon, where he's the dude who hides in the foxhole and makes it out because he was a coward as well. He's a great actor. And yeah,
who's
he's
that
the best part of Scrubs. The guy who played Dr. Cox.
Oh.
Yeah, he was the best part of Scrubs.
He's in Platoon?
Yeah.
Seriously?
You don't remember that? Yeah.
God, no. He must have been really young.
Let me go find this guy's name. Because I cannot remember it off the top of my head.
John C. McGinley.
John C. McGinley. I was close. I knew about the McGinley part. Yeah.
I had no idea he was in Platoon.
Yeah, he's like one of the best characters in it too. He's the asshole who's like the coward who hides in the foxhole and gets out of it at the end.
God damn.
He's one of those actors that have really been around, but most people don't notice. You know?
I don't even see. I can't even find it.
The animal too. Like he was the like the sergeant that was like harassing him the whole time. And with Rob Schneider, I remember that. Ah, God, that was. He's good in everything he's in.
Well, Platoon was in 1986. Why did I think it was in the 1970s?
I don't know.
Yeah. Sergeant Red O'Neill. What do you know? He must have been very young, though.
Yeah, well, he's only like 61.
Yeah. He is a. Would you call him a character actor? I don't know.
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, for the most part, he kind of usually has the same personality with every character he plays. But he's got a little bit of range. He does dip around in some roles. Like, sometimes he can be pretty stiff. Sometimes he's a snarky asshole. Sometimes he's just a goofy guy. He's not like a wide range actor, but he doesn't play himself in the role. He plays the character that he's playing. He was also in Office Space. He was one of the two Bobs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. He's just kind of like in a ton of different movies, and you're just like, oh yeah, that guy that has been a bunch of different movies.
Yeah, I love John C. McGinley. He's great.
Yeah. I love him in Office Space. He's like, yeah, it's all on this side of the table. All the pleasures over here.
Yeah. And the Bobs just like randomly love the guy too. Like
yeah. I love when they're like, what is it that you do here?
Yeah, that's great. I haven't watched that movie
you're
in a while.
not going to work here anymore. Movie night. Was that? Oh yeah, Office Space. Have we not done Office Space?
No, we haven't done Office Space.
Oh that's such a good one. We gotta watch
especially like the iconic, like the freaking printer fax machine destroyer scene.
Yeah, Rick.
Such a good one. Yeah.
Put Office Space on the list. Are we doing it tonight?
I don't know if we're having one tonight. We didn't have one last week.
I mean, we could watch WandaVision, or we could watch Office Space.
Yeah, we could.
Well, anyway,
I think that's.
I gotta go.
We hit 10 minutes over. Sometimes, if we miss a week, I like to go 30 minutes, but there's also other things I'd like to do today. So I think 10's, unless you're fine going even longer. I don't know.
Nah, I think we're good.
Yeah. So, thanks everybody for coming around to the Vomitorium. We did it at the beginning. I will remember to do it at the end. If you enjoy the show, do what you feel appropriate to support it by following wherever you're watching or listening this to. If you happen to be on a station that you can like or favorite or whatever, do that. Possibly share it with somebody you think might be interested in the show. And if you really like it, consider supporting through any of the links provided at our Patreon. Mine's when I get the tier set up, which should be very soon. I keep forgetting to do that. Or even directly at paypal.me/ImadaMetal, which is IMMADAMETAL. And we will see you guys next time.
Hit the like button.
Yeah, do it.